OTB AM. This is OTB Sports Radio.
Yeah, very good morning to you this Tuesday morning. You're welcome along to OTB AM. We're here with you from 7:30 AM all the way until 9:30 AM. We can be a radio show, we can be a video show, we can be whatever you want. We're a private dancer. You can get us on Twitter, use the hashtag OTBAM, and we've got a brilliant competition lined up for you today. We're giving away £4,000 worth of TVs. I'll tell you about it a little bit later on, how you can enter that. We also have one of the best guest lists we've had in a long time. It's a very busy show, so we better get straight into it. Owen, how are you?
I'm very well. How are you?
How's your level of anticipation, excitement, fear?
Getting excited now.
What's the dominance?
I was in a state of fear yesterday, but it was Monday. So I just have to fear every Monday, really.
Some Tuesdays.
Today, it's more just pure excitement, really. This is the point where you can really enjoy it. It actually, legitimately, is good to be back. It's good to be back in an All-Ireland final, and I'm actually buzzing for the weekend now. I'm in a much sunnier disposition than I was yesterday.
This is the most positive that the papers have been about a Kerry victory, I would say, all year. Suddenly, there's like little bits here. The legends are coming out saying, no, hang on a second now, we're Kerry. Do you remember, is it James O'Connor talking about 99 and the two-time All-Ireland winning champions Clare team festooned with legends in every line of the game up against this team of kids from Cork who've done nothing that whole decade. And Donal Logan, the parade, is, we're Cork! Shouting it. And he's like, going, what? And then it turned out they were Cork. That's what Kerry are doing in the papers all week.
You're saying that it's positive for a Kerry victory.
Oh, yeah.
It's not.
Absolutely.
It's all to do with, if they do this thing, then they might not get hammered.
No, it's not. It absolutely isn't.
It is. It's kind of like, don't rule them out.
James O'Donoghue is Seamus Darby, according to Mike Quirk.
No, he's asking the question.
Jack O'Shea saying, hang on a second now, we're Kerry. That's basically, there's loads of words there, but like, really all he's saying is, we are Kerry.
Yeah, like it's all kind of nice window dressing around this, that they have no fear. They have this blissful naivety about All-Ireland football final weekend. 17 players in the panel this weekend have never even been in an All-Ireland final partaking panel, let alone winning one. So
you don't need to win one to lose one, and loads of the rest of the team have.
It's true, but that is the sort of angle that's been taken, that because they are young, because they haven't actually been here before, that can be seen as a positive. Because they came close to Dublin a couple of years ago, because they beat them in the league this year, there's positives you can look at. Because they hammered Mayo, similar to the way Dublin did.
Beat them in the league
sorry, not similar margin to the way Dublin did. Very different manner of hammering them. In the league this year, there was that game down in Tralee. So they're all the things that people are pointing towards in terms of reasons why Kerry can't be ruled out. Like, you can't just look at Kerry like, I don't know, Tyrone, say, for example. I hate constantly using that example, but I did feel there was an inevitability before the All-Ireland last year.
Isn't there a possibility, though, that Mayo were shite this year?
Yes.
And so that Dublin have beaten one bad team and everybody else they've kind of been grand against, except none of those teams are actually any good either.
100%. I definitely think that's a possibility. It was just that no matter how good that Mayo team was, I'm not quite sure what they would have done in that 12-minute period after half-time to stop that blue wave.
Kick the ball over the bar instead of dropping it short, from which leads to the first goal.
Well, actually, you just remind me of something. I know we're going to get into tactics and into analysis as the week goes on, into much more depth, but I think there has been a little bit of a misanalysis of Kerry so far this year. You know my views on Kerry's defensive system. Perhaps you
think they're much better than
people think. I maybe I'm wrong on that. I'll accept that, and maybe I'll be proved completely wrong this Sunday. I just have this sense that Peter Keane is not as stupid as some people like to paint him out to be. Like the Sunday game studio after the All-Ireland semi-final was kind of funny, really. It was like it was a tearing apart of Kerry's defensive system.
I didn't watch it, so what happened?
So you had Sean Cavanagh, you had Malachi O'Rourke, and you had, I can't remember who else was in studio. It was probably Kieran Whelan, was it? Potentially.
Not Bradley, no.
No, it wasn't Bradley. And basically they were bringing up this very obvious thing about Paul Murphy being a sweeper, and it was like, why is he playing there? He's in the completely wrong position to be a sweeper. And I'm like, I noticed that as well in the game earlier on. Everybody beside me noticed it in the game earlier on. Why didn't Peter Keane notice it? And the answer is he did notice it, and there was a reason why this odd form of defensive structure was actually implemented against Tyrone. And my belief is that deep in their subconscious, they have been thinking about Dublin all year. They have been thinking of how to stop Dublin. And I think that if you have any prayer of stopping them, you have to stop them scoring goals. And I think the way Kerry played a sweeper is different to how any other team has played a sweeper, in the sense that they will try and stop you scoring goals, which was push up on the half back line. Don't sit in front of the full back line. Push up a lot further, and that way you stop the running through the middle of the defence. And I think that's been missed a little bit. That Colin McShane got on so much ball and he kicked so many points, and he should have kicked more, that people were like, well, he's absolutely given the Kerry defence a run around. And in actual fact, I think that they might have been content to let him pick points off. As long as he wasn't scoring goals, they were happy with that. And that's just my hunch on how they've been set up. I just think that Keane is a smarter man than somebody who sets up a sweeper system to be completely ineffectual. He wouldn't play it otherwise. There is a method to the apparent madness that occurred against Tyrone last time out. I just have that hunch.
Sheehan Slam's Sunday game slappers.
It was like analysing a team who'd been beaten in an All-Ireland semi-final rather than the team who'd won an All-Ireland semi-final. And maybe they'll be proved right. There's every chance they'll be proved right, because
it's just an anti-Kerry bias from those Nordies, basically.
Oh, I'm not sure. Has Sean Cavan ever written anything bad about Kerry? I'm not quite sure, actually. I'm not sure if there is any bias there.
Here's what's coming up on the show. Great show for you lined up, and we'll get back to the Kerry Dublin analysis as well. So Mike Tindall is going to join us around about 7:45 this morning to gloat about England's performance against Ireland at the weekend. Andy Moran has retired. David Brady is going to join us in studio to wax lyrical about him, and we might talk about the big game coming this weekend as well. After that, in the next half of the show, after 8:05, we've got the power rankings. Nico Roche in the red jersey in the Vuelta is going to join us around about 8:30. Got a brilliant story about Andrew Porter coming your way at 8:50, and then looking back at the Premier League stuff from the week as well, and looking forward to what's going to happen for the rest of the week with Phil just after 9:05. You can tweet us this morning using the hashtag OTB AM. We'll get to the sports pages right after this.
Join Off the Ball in Abu Dhabi this November 17th to 23rd for the inaugural Off the Ball Open. With flights from Dublin, 5 nights in a 4-star hotel, golf on 2 championship courses, gala awards dinner, Peter Lorry golf clinic, and a live Off the Ball roadshow. You can also hang out with some special guests, including Kevin Kilban and Kieran Donaghy. The inaugural Off the Ball Open. Book now at CassidyTravel.ie and check out offtheball.com.
Yes, so the very last few early bird places are still available there if you get to Cassidy Travel. I'm going to start with the Herald this morning. Don't rule out Kerry. Jacko Shea, come on, Jacko. Legend says Jacko insists Kingdom will have no fear facing champions. They won't be scared. Like, so what happens? You lose, they win the 5 in a row. But you're not going to die wondering, going, I need to make this extra run. McCarthy in line to return. Ireland's forgotten man, James McCarthy, hopes to take a big step towards an international return tonight. McCarthy hasn't played for Ireland in almost 3 years due to injury. He is expected to start for Palace in their League Cup tie at home to Colchester. Obviously been coming off the bench a little bit recently. Klopp may take break. Jurgen Klopp has hinted that he might take a break from football when his Liverpool contract runs out. Klopp is signed up with the Reds until 2022, but he claims he could follow the example of Pep Guardiola by taking time out. Just as life gets very good for Liverpool fans, all of a sudden there's this little nagging anxiety that maybe the club era won't last forever. If you're Fenway Sports Group, you're saying, no, you're not, no, don't do that. Just take a 3-month break and come back to us. Take a 6-month break and come back to us. We'll give you 6 months off, you can do what you want, but the job is yours and you're coming back.
Yeah, there is an option on Football Manager to actually go on holidays for a while. I'm sure that's an option in real life football management as well. What would your suggestion be if you took a 6-month break, miss half the season?
Yeah, and come back. And just write that season off for Liverpool.
Wait till Manchester City run away with the title by Christmas and then take your 6 months off, come back for pre-season next year.
Barcelona lost Pep and never quite the same again. They've won 1 Champions League since with the best player in the history of the game in their team. It's not good. While Real Madrid won 3 in a row. Yeah,
and Klopp has been so essential to the culture that has existed at Liverpool that it's a fantastic squad, but he has melded them together and actually got the best from the sum of their parts for sure over the last couple of years, and last season proved that. It would be a nightmare if they lost Jurgen Klopp, no question about it. The question for him is there kind of a sense of conquest about being a manager these days where you need to win league titles in different arenas? Like Jose got the ball rolling, I think, coming to Chelsea and going over to Inter Milan, Real Madrid. There was a kind of sense of this is a truly continental global coach. Pep Guardiola has the same thing going on, and I think there's an appeal to that. Klopp obviously has done it in 2 different places at this point. Winning a Premier League title would be one hell of a way to go out with Liverpool. Yeah, but he could also be Alex Ferguson or Wenger, and
I don't know.
Will there ever be another Ferguson or Wenger?
Well,
is the question.
Klopp could be, right? That's my point. Go on, what have you got?
I've got the back page of The Sun, which is the same story. Kop in fear of a Klopp out. Pool chief eyes up a sabbatical. You've got a money old game here. Charlie Redmond reckons opponents who criticise Dublin's financial clout need to beat them on the field first. So don't criticise Dublin unless you've beaten them. I wonder, would that be the kind of prize for Gavin White on Sunday if he is climbing the steps of the Hogan stand in a very unlikely win for Kerry, that it's like, right now, for the real prize, I've lifted Sam Maguire. Time to criticise Dublin and their financial clout. He says they can do what they want and they can say what they want. The best thing you can do is do nothing. Don't react. Yeah, you're right. And walk away. If they want to stop us getting sponsorship and rewards, then beat us. Then you'll get the sponsorship and you'll get the rewards, is his point. He thinks that Dublin have so much financial backing because they're successful, not the other way around.
Chicken and egg, I believe, is the... They wouldn't be getting all this. I mean, there's a point if the team was rubbish and they wasted the money, then sponsors would be very quickly going, no thanks, we don't want to stick around, right?
Yeah, but like, what is your definition of successful? Like, if they were getting to All-Ireland football finals over the last couple of years and lost a couple, I can't imagine AIG are pulling out. You still get the same level of exposure.
There is another point here in that Kildare and Meath did not get their house in order for the last decade, and that they've not managed to put it up to them since like 2010 was the last time Kildare were decent. 2011 maybe. Like, that's a big county who should be doing better, and they're not doing well because of the money that Dublin gets.
Yeah, like you look
not even like fourth best.
They should be able to do what Mayo and Tyrone are doing.
Exactly, and the fact that they're not is on them, and so there is a bit of the like whining coming from most of the other counties who don't have their houses in order, going, "Oh, it's not fair." Well, even if you did have the money, you probably wouldn't be doing a good job of it because you've no signs that you know what to do with in the first place. The Examiner this morning. I'm here to make a change. Stephen Larkham ready to shake it up at Munster. This is interesting, obviously. Stephen Larkham is one of the most exciting coaching appointments in Irish rugby. And it's going to be very interesting to see exactly what he can do. I mean, we need stuff. Obviously, the World Cup is going to happen, but then we're really all about the club game in Ireland, you know? That's what the beating heart of Irish rugby is, just the club game. The international thing is just a bauble. I mean, can we withdraw from the World Cup? Is that possible? And then the $15 million man, no majors, but a major finish by Rory McIlroy. I think Rory's going to be happy enough for this season. 15 million, yes, please.
The back page of the Mirror this morning is "We've been caned." Striker admits Tottenham could have lost too much ground already on Liverpool and Manchester City. Tomas O'Shea is going with the line that it's no lose for a kingdom. It's a free shot for Kerry, he says, and no more to give. Andy Moran becomes the first Mayo player to retire in the aftermath of that semi-final hammering at the hands of Dublin.
You've made notes on Declan O'Sullivan?
Oh yeah, he was actually some interesting stuff. It's kind of more tactical based and what he believes should be the starting Kerry team this Sunday.
He's a really good analyst. The trouble is, I think he wants to be a manager, right? That's why we don't see more of him as an analyst.
Yeah, it seems that way. He wants Tommy Walsh to start, and he wants Jack Sherwood to start, and he wants Jack Barry to start. And he says that he thinks that Jack Barry will be the man detailed on Brian Fenton this weekend. He has to play, and Kerry needs to be able to compete there to get bigger fellows onto the field. For me, Jack Barry starts and Jack Sherwood starts as well, and Brian Howard. So they're a couple of the matchups he's looking at. Talks about Tommy Walsh as well, that I'd be leaning towards starting him. He has such good vibes after the last day. So he'd be making 3 changes to a team that won an All-Ireland semi-final, which would be a big enough change. But then again, I guess it was just a bit of a two-half performance from Kerry on that occasion. He talks about like the goalkeeper for Kerry as well, Shane Ryan. He says, I don't think Shane Ryan is experienced enough with that type of pressure and that type of heat to be going short too often. So he says, when the ball is on the tee for Kerry this Sunday, hoof it. Get as long as possible with that kick out. Don't worry about your short kick out.
Well, then you need Tommy Walsh to be coming out and claiming some of those, right? So
yeah, like that's
Tommy
part of his
Walsh
point.
versus Fenton, and maybe you break even in half of those.
Well, it will be, Barry versus Fenton and Moran in there and Jack Sherwood in there, and then maybe Tommy Walsh dropping deep as well. So you've got 4 different options going long, and really you're only 2 or 3 of them are people that you actually want to be going direct with. The rest are kind of breaking ball men. So it's one way of looking at it. Like, obviously, Mayo went short and they went long in that period after half-time, and they got destroyed on both fronts. So it's hard to make a case for it to be the wrong option at the same time, because you want the ball as far away from goal as possible. But I always think that that's a very kind of defeatist attitude, that get the ball away as far as possible. But I know that's not what he's saying. His logic is just that the short kick out hasn't been at top level from Shane Ryan so far this year.
Well, has it not?
Hasn't been amazing. Like his kick outs have been good, and they've been getting better, and he is getting better. He is a reluctant goalkeeper. Like, he plays outfield for his club. He couldn't get into the Kerry team last year because Fitzmaurice insisted that he play goalkeeper for his club, and he wouldn't because he wanted to play in the forwards for his club. So there has been this kind of staggered process behind him becoming the starting Kerry goalkeeper. So this is his first kind of real season where he's starting to see incremental improvements as a top class goalie.
And does he dribble the ball out?
Sometimes, yeah. He's.
Are you likely to see?
He got caught in one of the league games. I remember. I can't remember which one he got caught out near the sideline, but he hasn't really reverted to that in quite some time. Like, he's not a Niall Morgan level goalkeeper. Not in this championship anyway.
Is there any chance that maybe that's their super tactic in the final? They suddenly unveil
sweeper keeper,
an extra forward.
100% has the ball skills to do it. He just hasn't been doing it in this year's championship.
Right. Okay. It is 7:46 a.m. this morning. You are listening to OTB AM, or you're watching us on youtube.com/offtheball, or you're getting us on the offtheball.com website. Now, let's go back to the big story of the week, which is the annihilation of the Irish rugby team at Twickenham by England. And I'm delighted to say that former England centre Mike Tindall is on the line. Mike, your boys gave us one hell of a beating.
I mean, it didn't go great for Ireland, let's be honest, and I thought England looked really sharp all throughout, but I think from an Irish perspective, I don't think they can, their lineouts could operate that badly, and their defence could be that bad again, I hope. Obviously, they got a massive game against Wales this weekend, so they'll be looking to bounce back. I still believe, even that Ireland are a good team. They just, everything went wrong for them on the weekend, but take nothing away from England. I thought England were outstanding and clinical on the weekend too. This
is the best that England have looked under Eddie Jones, and it's really the first time that all of his big ball carriers have been available to him at the same time. It's the first time that Vinapola's been at 8, Tuolagi's been in the centre, and now they've got a winger who can actually match them in the physical stakes and the pace as well. It must be hard not to get carried away as an England rugby fan at the minute. Yeah, I think the only thing that holds you back is the inconsistencies probably we've seen over the last year. I think, Manu has to be at 13. Obviously, they'll play around. They played Sneyd and Manu together in the Six Nations. I thought it took away from Manu's game. I think when he comes that little bit wider, you could see the problems that he caused the defensive shape of set pieces, especially to score. I think we scored 2 or 3 set piece tries on the weekend, just because there was so much worry about where Manu was running on those wider channels in terms of protecting your 10 and Bundy Akiam to keep an eye on him, and also Ringrose then trying to solve the problems that happened outside. But if you're half a second off, as you saw England get on the outside, and then, as you said, with Cocu and Bilic coming in and being a genuine threat as well, it does offer a lot of options, but I think that stems from Manu being that little bit threat wider out. If he's doing those lines off 12, you would hope your 7's sweeping that up, and the 7 would generally make most of those tackles, whereas when you put it a little bit wider, you're asking a lot more questions. I think, when you get the likes of Billy, I thought both all the back rows played exceptionally well. Obviously, a wealth of depth in the second row. I mean, it does look good for us, and I've said for a while I think England will go out there with possibly the best 31-man squad, but whether that then changes into a win, you hope so. But once you get to knockout rugby, it's who turns up on the day, and that's been the only question mark about England, is those one-off performances where they've been in the lead and then lost, and it's whether they can overcome those. The one thing that strikes me is that here we are in late August. The final isn't actually until November. It's a long time for that team to be at that pace and that power, and to have their eye in so well as they've had this weekend. Is part of the performance of the weekend down to Ireland not being very good, and that actually England still have room to improve?
I think there's a combination there. I mean, I think Ireland never got into their game because of how much they struggled at line-out time. You don't see an Irish team lose 5 line-outs, and that's where they generate their possession from. It's where they generate all their, they put pressure, they play pressure rugby to get penalties which they got to put in the right area, and then they'd be losing those lineouts, which doesn't usually happen for Ireland. My only sort of worry from an Irish perspective is I didn't really see that much change in the shape that they played with. I thought their first try was outstanding in terms of what they did into manipulating England's defence. Obviously it was of a turnover line out, then they played a little bit wider and created an overlap, which they then managed to take advantage of England's fly up defence and got over the back. And when you get Stockdale the ball with his hands on the ball, things can happen. But I think from an England, you've still got to beat what's in front of you, and I think they did that exceptionally well. They make the right calls, and I look at being clinical and when you have a chance, taking it, and pretty much most occasions they didn't really miss out on any opportunities to score. And you could say England are a step ahead. Obviously, they've got one more game under their belt than Ireland have, but I just think Ireland had a really bad day at the office, and I think going back to the Wales game in the Six Nations, they'll want to go to the Principality and prove that they can play a bit better than they did in the Six Nations as well.
Yeah, it seems, Mike, that Ireland have too much work to do in the given time frame between now and the World Cup to actually be able to work on those things to improve to that level. So really, it's up to Joe Schmidt to make fairly radical changes, you'd imagine. And one of the things that's been floated here over the last couple of days is, what do you change personnel-wise in the line-out? Does Rory Best, even though he's captain, perhaps get dropped as hooker? I'm not sure what you think about all of that.
Yeah, then Brady came on, did he miss two as well when he came on? So I think it was... I know England put a lot of pressure on them because there was competition on every single line-out, and England didn't always get clean ball but managed to get it back. So it looks like it was an area both sides were trying to target, but I think Joe Smith's smart enough, and he's got the coaches around. I mean, I can't imagine how many lineups they've done this week, but I would imagine. And then, but what I don't know. I spoke to the Open, and he was talking about how learned to change the game. So I don't know whether they're holding back some of it as well, to sort of, because people now would know what they're going to get from Ireland in terms of, if you can put a lot of pressure on that and stop their forwards and get on top of their forwards, you make it a very hard day for them. So I'm just wondering whether they might be holding something back to keep some of their powder dry for the World Cup.
We hope they are, but it doesn't really. There's not, because this is,
Come on, be positive. Don't be doom and gloom.
It's easy when you've haven't shipped 57 points at Twickenham to say be positive. You just scored 57 points. So, we're in the situation where 2 years ago we went and won the Grand Slam in Twickenham with a dominant performance. Now, granted, Tuilagi didn't play, Vunipola didn't play. It was a different England team, but still, to go from that to this. And there's been plenty of staging posts along the way where we've been dominated in games. You can see why we're a little bit concerned here, Mike.
Yeah, I mean, it's what we talked about last time that I was on, in terms of Ireland play a very much possession and need their forwards to be dominant. And I think what England showed in the Six Nations was, if you get up and you can stop them behind the game line, Ireland's game is very hard to flow, and the challenge off the back of that, I said, was and what I hoped would be a sort of a kick up the arse for Ireland to jump onto the next level, was having that multifaceted way of playing. But they haven't sort of figured that out yet. That's not to say they can't. I think Joe Smith's an absolutely outstanding coach, and I do think you have the players. But it involves you seeing Stockdale with his hands on the ball in more open spaces, and Kearney and all these guys. And Ringrose, I thought Ringrose still, even in that defeat, looked sharp when he had the ball. And then obviously we saw what Bundyaki did for his try at the end. So I think the players are there. It's just they've got to find their mojo again, and they need to find it fast.
I presume you've been in that situation, Mike, as a midfielder like Ringrose or Aki, and seemingly just running into brick wall after brick wall. How frustrating is that?
Yeah, it's obviously my face showed that I did it a lot. It can grind on you mentally if the games are going that way every single time, and I think that's what they need to do. I think for Wales, is Wales their last warm-up game?
Yeah, Wales back to back.
they need to sort of go from a completely fresh point of view, and I feel just have a bit of fun out there. But I don't know whether that's one thing that Schmidt's got in him, is to break away from his structure and actually just give them a bit of freedom to play, so that they come off and actually feel like they've refreshed and enjoyed themselves. Because what can happen is, if you're doing the same grind week in, week out, and you're not getting the results, it really does weigh down on you. Your body can get sore, and you don't feel that you're getting any extra reward for all the effort. So it's going to be a difficult thing to manage, especially. But you want to be going to the World Cup with a bit of enthusiasm and a bit of. Whereas if you go off the back of a 57 and you lose on the weekend, you're going out there with a big cloud over your head straight away. So they need to do something this weekend, and they need to try and get that energy and vigour back into the players before they get on that plane.
It's funny how you diagnosed exactly what the issue was about what you need to do to beat Ireland. And is that the general consensus, that Ireland have been worked out over the last 18 months? Because there was a period where we were going into games against the All Blacks, against Australia, against you guys, and genuinely we figured we were favourites and deserved to be, and we always thought we were going to win those games. And now all of a sudden, if we were to play any of those opponents, it would be like, ooh, this is going to be a bit hairy for us.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure why it happened, because I said a couple of years ago, if you can stop Ireland play their game, you can beat them. But the problem was no one could do it. No one could just stop the onslaught of Irish forwards. And I don't know I can't put my finger on what's changed around it, and whether it's just because people have had time to sort of sit down and go, right, we have to do this, and then people are now to get it right. But as I said, there is elements in there with that first try, where they had a little tip off the first forward runner, which is nice. Sometimes it's just a bit worn out. When they get those tips in there, and you can actually push through players a little bit better from forward to forward, it then gives your backs more freedom to play. And at the moment, they're just getting. When did you see Furlong just getting? He got it smashed on the weekend. He was getting, and you never see that. He's just an outstanding ball carrier. So they've got to sort of figure out. They get their forwards a bit more freedom to actually move in space and actually get onto the ball to cause problems for the defence, and B, how that then moves on to the backs to allow them to have a bit of space as well. And it's a bit of a head scratcher for them at the moment, because I've said for a few years there's an easy way of stopping Ireland, is stop it, but we couldn't do it, and now it seems to be it's the other way around, and Ireland can't find that momentum, because once they play with speed of ball and on the front foot, they're an exceptional team, but at the moment they're just struggling to get that front foot ball.
It's a month to fix it, Mike. Within that month, do you think that there is still a possibility, even if Ireland make a small improvement, that Japan and Scotland can both beat Ireland and thereby knock them out of the pool stage?
That's a very harsh question. Look, I think at the moment, if you look at what France did to Scotland last week, obviously they got revenge 2 weeks ago. They had revenge last week, but it wasn't a great game. And I think that's the thing. You need some confidence going in, or all those games suddenly look tough for Ireland and Scotland. But I still believe that those two are the best. Obviously, the best two in that group, and I think they'll be duking it out for who's first and second. But as a Northern Hemisphere guy, you want those two to go in playing the best rugby that they can, because if it's not England that win it, you want one of the other Northern Hemisphere teams to win it. So hopefully they can put right some wrongs this weekend and beat Wales and go off there a bit more confident about where they are.
Yeah, the feeling's mutual, Mike. I think all Irish people will be right behind England if Ireland get knocked out early.
Yeah, well, just doesn't seem to work that way, does it, for some reason? But no, that we'll be rooting for Ireland if we get knocked out. So there you go. Yeah,
well, you're safe, I think, all the way at least to the semi-finals. Mike, good stuff. Great to talk to you again. Thanks a million, man.
Cheers, guys. Bye.
It's Mike Tindall talking to us this morning and being very kind to us.
I feel a lot more positive after that conversation.
We just need a bit of perspective.
Like we always, it is kind of a sense of Irish insecurity that we need to turn to an Englishman to tell us to cop on. It's a warm-up game. It's a warm-up game.
Yeah.
What are we doing? 34 missed tackles, 57 points conceded.
They ramped up the figure to 38 after the game.
See that? Yeah. Is it just because
they're like, oh, that was another one? They went back over the tape and go, whoa, there was 3 missed tackles in that one.
I was looking back through England's warm-up games in 2003, and they did a number on Wales, they did a number on France. They did lose a game in the middle, I think it was to France as well, but they came back a week later and absolutely bulldozed them. Like, if there is a team that result mattered for more at the weekend, I actually think it was England.
Maybe.
Because when their chest is pumped out and stuff.
Yeah, it's just very early for them to be this good, I think.
It's true, but you would say that a semi-final would be their minimum expectation now.
Right, it's just gone 8 a.m. All this week on OTB AM. We've got some brilliant prizes for you, with thanks to Dominic Smith, Expert Electrical in Dundrum, as they mark the launch of their exclusive new TV and home entertainment showroom, offering the latest TV and home entertainment solutions. Every morning there's a €100 voucher for Dominic Smith, Expert Electrical, up for grabs, and then on Friday, anybody who enters our competition across the week are all on the draw for the overall prize of the state-of-the-art Sony TV and home entertainment system worth $4,000. It's a 65-inch Sony Bravia OLED AG9 Smart TV from Sony's new Masterclass series. This is the nicest TV I've ever seen. With the latest OLED technology, wide viewing angle for a more natural picture, and built-in acoustic surface audio. The next generation Android Smart TV provides viewers with a multi-dimensional cinema viewing experience. This morning, we're asking you to share this morning's show wherever you're watching or listening to the show. So maybe you're listening to us on Go Loud. Just tweet us and tell us you're watching or listening on Go Loud, the Go Loud app. And then leave us a comment with your sporting wish for the rest of the year. What's your sporting wish for the rest of the year?
I wonder, is there any other big sporting event coming up, perhaps in the next couple of days, that I would pay good money for a certain result in? Yes, the sporting wish for Kerry to win the All-Ireland shirt.
To win the All-Ireland?
Yeah.
Yeah, you believe it's possible?
Well, if you get one wish, you're going to wish on something even if it is impossible. Like, you don't... When you read those stories about the genie coming in and giving you 3 wishes, the person's not like, oh, what's actually plausible here? They go for something absolutely outrageous.
Plenty coming up in the next hour as we hear from Andrew Porter, Nico Roche on the Vuelta, and David Brady talks to Andy Moran. Back with the sports pages after these.
OTB AM. This is OTB Sports Radio.
Thinking of a weekend getaway? Brace yourself for Belfast. Start your pulse racing with the rugged splendour of the Giants Causeway. Relive truly epic battles on the official Game of Thrones tour. And then unwind at Clayton Hotel Belfast with a health and fitness club, pool and luxurious rooms from £95 B&B. Book now at claytonhotelbelfast.com. Terms and conditions apply.
And suddenly Dublin now lead by 5.
This is OTB Sports Radio. GAA on Off the Ball.
This Thursday, August the 29th, we're getting very excited. We're taking over the airwaves from 7 a.m. all the way until midnight. It's constant live programming. There must be something big on, Joe.
It's the Dublin Drive for 5, Ger.
And the 4 in a row has been achieved by Dublin. 6 All-Ireland titles in 8 years.
It's an extravaganza. We are on air from 7 a.m. to midnight, like you say. We're going to have all the best voices in GAA, from Andy Moran in to Paul Rouse. We're going to have Dublin legends, Kerry legends. This is a full-on celebration of the All-Ireland final. We are taking over.
There's a full Dublin hour and there's a full Kerry hour, and never the twain shall meet.
Correct.
A lot of yeras and a lot of, sure. The money doesn't really matter at all.
Money can't make you kick the ball over the bar, Ger.
Volunteers.
The volunteers. It's an extravaganza. 7 a.m. to midnight.
Listen in on OTB Sports Radio. You can get it on the Go Loud app, or we'll also be streaming all day live on youtube.com/offtheball, or the best place to get us is offtheball.com. Get tuned.
Only on OTB Sports Radio. OTB AM.
He didn't have a good day at the lineouts, and that's his responsibility, obviously, along with the lineout leader. But like he's done for however long he's playing, 15 years, I think he'll lift up his hands and he'll go, yeah, I need to get better. And I think he will get better, but it would also, for me, I think it would rock the team more, the fact that you would exclude someone that you have considered your leader for the best part of a decade. That's only a personal feeling.
No. It's two sides of a different coin, I suppose, the same coin. Even if you've lost faith in him as a teammate, even if he's been a brilliant leader, like, I'm wondering how much leadership counts if he's not delivering on the basics.
If you've lost faith in it, I think then it's up to the senior players to go to Joe and say that I don't think this guy is up to it. But I think from Saturday's viewing, there could be 15 fellas knocking on doors, though.
Yeah, that's the thing, I suppose.
It's easy to pick out a 37-year-old, very, very easy.
Yeah.
But how many times has, Federer been written off, he's been dead and buried, and then all of a sudden he comes back and everyone thinks he's great. He has a chance to reply, but he'd be the first to admit that he needs to up his game.
Yeah, Rory Best is Roger Federer from Ronan O'Gara last night on the Off the Ball show on News Talk, talking to Joe. If you want to get in touch with us this morning, you can leave us a comment, as Hazel Healy did. Rog on that Off the Ball seems to be the only person who looks good from that angle during a FaceTime. I usually have a quadruple chin. It's true, he's looking skinny as a whippet. Must be all the training he's doing with the La Rochelle boys. It's a good point. It does send shockwaves through. It looks like last minute panic. If Rory Best isn't good enough now, was he good enough 6 months ago? Was he good enough a year ago? Or did he literally hit a cliff, metaphorically, hit a cliff, and you're at that point where you're, okay, that just happened and we have to deal with it? Or is he actually going to be fine?
I think that if the performance is... If Joe Schmidt believes that the performance that Rory Best put in on Saturday is now his level, then I don't think you care what the public perception is going to be or how much you're perceived to have panicked. Really. Yeah, because
you've got to win games. Now, is there a point where you bring him and you don't pick him for the big games and you play him against
Samoa, Russia?
Yeah, and that he's in the squad, but that he's third choice. He's gone from first to third, and that Cronin's the sub, and then you need to decide, but it's clearly Scannell, right?
I think that's a realistic possibility.
And that's okay.
Like, I think it's not a cop-out from Joe Schmidt at all to do that. I think that appreciates what this guy is as a leader. Like,
well, wouldn't you rather Rory Best than Herring playing in those games?
Yeah, you definitely would at this point. It definitely, he deserves that bit of slack to be cut, because unless, really, you mentioned the cliff there, unless the cliff has been met on a metaphorical sense, like it has been mentioned that we heard a lot less of Rory Best on Saturday, that he wasn't communicating with the referee as much as we've previously seen. That to me doesn't seem like Rory Best at all. That like, if you're not communicating with the referee, you can still communicate with the referee if you're 57 years old. It doesn't matter what age you are. So, like, is there just something missing there? Is there just something that he's not quite up for it just yet? Or is he still kind of coming back to a bit of form yet? So,
what do you mean?
Like, I'm saying that you don't need to be an active, in your peak person to be vocal in your conversations with the referee, right?
Well, unless the point is that you're so exhausted by doing this thing which you're no longer physically capable of, you're getting over to the referee and you're like, yeah, just hang on, lean on you there.
Well, there is that.
I mean, that was,
there is that. That is another option.
Okay, so the Irish Independent this morning is Kingdom of Chance of Shocking Dubs. Jacko, there you go. It's all over the papers. That's what happens when you have an empire like Independent News and Media. So it's in the Herald. It's also in the back of the Indo. It's everywhere. Jack O'Shea is getting into the heads of Dublin by saying, hang on a second now, we are Kerry. There's loads of words, as I said, but only three that matter, that he didn't actually say, we are Kerry. And then look at this picture at the top. That's Sam Bennett and Nico Roche, one in red, one in the Ireland jersey, having just won the stage yesterday. So it's two Irishmen in the podium. Double joy, double Irish joy as Bennett and Roche reign in Spain. Apparently, Nico Roche has written in his diary today, in the Indo, he was saying that they managed to miss each other consistently after the race, and so he insisted that after everything was done that the two lads get a photograph together, and lo and behold, the sub-editors in the Indo did a great job and they've got it on the back page of the paper.
It's on the back page of the Irish Daily Star as well. It's Sam Day for Irish duo, they say. The main headline though is Kerry playing with fire, O'Shea's warning for the Kingdom, and time's up for Mayo star Andy. Matic wants explanation meanwhile, says Ian Murtagh. Manny Matic wants showdown talks with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer to discuss his Manchester United future, so he's obviously become a bit of an outcast at Old Trafford this season. He's lost his place to Scott McTominay. Matic, it is understood, wants clear-the-air talks to discover if he's still part of the manager's plans.
Yeah, sorry, their Van Grant backs Carberry to be fit for Scots clash, or to hit ground running against Scots, but that's not quite, the headline doesn't quite match the piece. Carberry was here in the Munster High Performance Centre on Friday. I had a chat with him. He's going to give himself every chance to be ready. He's under the guidance of the national team's medical team, and I'm sure they'll make the best decision for them and for him, and whatever decision they make, I'm sure it'll be the right one. He's really pumped to get there. Obviously getting to a World Cup that age and that form, I think he's been in brilliant form over the last 12 months, so I think he's looking forward to it very much, but your body's got to work with you, and these things happen. So, look, we'll see.
The Irish Daily Mail this morning leads with Ericsson stays. Spurs star will try to force a January move. So he's all but resigned to staying at Spurs. He was on the bench at the weekend in the short term, but his dream of joining Real Madrid or Barcelona this summer is going to fail to materialise. Basically, the window closes on the continent next Monday, so he's going to wait until January before he gets out the door at Tottenham Hotspur. You've got that picture as well of Sam Bennett flying the flag in Spain. Quite an incredible win for him yesterday. Had a bit to spare in the sprint coming down the home stretch, and really the commentary on TV was just so complimentary towards Sam Bennett in terms of the fact that this is no real shock whatsoever. This dominance that he displayed in that sprint yesterday is no shock whatsoever. Moran calls time on his intercounty career then as well, does Micheál Clifford. Andy Moran confirming that his intercounty career is over at the age of 35.
Bradley Wiggins is living his best life. Whatever about the jiffy bag, he seems to have forgotten all about that. It doesn't bother him. He's like about 3 times the size of the Bradley Wiggins that competed.
Yeah.
Just hanging out and having crack.
Like, is it acceptable to call Bradley Wiggins a very good pundit?
Is it? I mean, it probably is. Like,
jiffy bag or no jiffy bag, I think he's...
is he good, yeah?
He's an excellent broadcaster. And to be fair, I think that's kind of part of the veneer, isn't it? That he was so charismatic and so well able to communicate when all those controversies were going on, that he was quite smooth in relation to that. But yeah, on TV he's pretty good. That's Tour de France. He was, as much as it pains me to say it, outstanding. He was on a little moped, kind of driving through the peloton during the Tour de France, and was like, this is what this person's doing, this is what this person's doing, this climb that's coming up, we'll put pain in your leg sort of thing. And it was kind of live, immersive commentary, and he was really good. So yeah, he's making it big, I think, in the punditry game. He's got a new TV show coming up as well, doesn't he?
Does he, yeah?
Didn't I see that? Kind of like a League of Their Own rip-off.
Right.
Bradley Wiggins and somebody. And Mo Farah, I think, is the other captain.
Oh, wow, that's great. I mean, if you're a TV, you're like, get all the villains together.
Yeah, basically.
All the heroes that everybody thinks about.
I can't remember what happened to that. Like, has it been aired yet or what? I saw that story a couple of months ago.
Are you sure it wasn't just a Digger fever dream?
It could have been a dream, yeah. I do have some messed up dreams, and that would be right at the top of the list.
A Digger fever dream?
No.
That was good morning to you. The Telegraph. I mean, look,
that's a great front page.
There's going to be a week of them sliding off their chairs. Your life will change forever. So they talked to Ian Boughton about Ben Stokes, and 2 pictures from Headingley, 1981 and 2019. So whatever, you can do your maths there. 28 years apart. I didn't realise that it was 330 minutes he was at the crease for his innings, Ben Stokes.
38 years. 81, wasn't it?
Yeah, good point. It's a lot of decade off my age there. Stokes, 135, came off 219 balls in 330 minutes. That's a long time to be concentrating on anything. I mean, all that stuff about millennials not being able to concentrate. Well, Ben Stokes, millennials, Ben Stokes is your poster boy.
Yeah, he's on the back page of the London Times as well. Naturally, Stokes can inspire us to Ashes glory. We'll bring our best for 4th test, says Jack Leach. Quick and easy for Murray then. First singles victory since hip operation takes only 42 minutes. Bolton's race against time, writes Martin Ziegler. Wanderers and Bury both face potential liquidation this week unless takeovers from the League One clubs can be achieved before deadline at 5 o'clock today. And Luke Shaw fears that he will be out for at least a month after suffering an injury to his right hamstring in Manchester United's defeat to Crystal Palace.
Jim Bulger's on the front cover of the Racing Post this morning. So there it is there, Jim Bulger. And he's a successful breeder, a successful trainer, a successful owner, and he built it all himself. He's the epitome of the self-made man. The master trainer who helped shape Irish racing is the Tuesday Profile. These Tuesday Profiles in the Racing Post are generally really good. Summer in Saratoga started with a 3-part Steve Dennis special from the US track that comes alive in August, and Enable, the superstar mare, to headline Newmarket Open weekend. And then again, the Ascot ITV contract negotiations are rumbling on and are on the front of the Racing Post. So obviously, racing feels the need to get some terrestrial TV coverage. And Best Ham, not quite tab of the morning to you, not particularly original, but I haven't seen anything else, so maybe we're going to have to go there. Hammers could avoid another knockout blow. They're at Newport County tonight. Another chance for Pádraig Amond to slay some giants.
Final one for me is The Guardian, and it is the cricket as well. England's greatest ever all-rounder, Stokes, has eclipsed Botham and Flintoff with summer heroics. It's Moeen Ali's column. You've got Bolton crisis, clock is ticking on founder members' existence, and US Open, Joanna Konta battles through after being taken to decider.
And the Irish News is the last one we have here this morning for you at 8:15. It is ex-Fermanagh boss Gallagher favourite to take Derry helm. Wow. Imagine Joe Brolly. McMenamin confirmed as new Earn Supremo. So Ryan McMenamin got the Fermanagh gig, and Rory Gallagher is going to be taking over there. Imagine what Joe Brodley's thinking. I can't wait. If only he had a platform to give us his opinion.
Will Fermanagh play better or worse football next season?
Under Ricey?
Yeah.
Well, like, the system is so screwed that they played 2 games and lost them both against good teams.
Yeah.
So, did they... Donegal beat them, what, 5 points?
Something like that. It was comfortable in the end.
Yeah, but like Donegal, a really good team. And then... Monaghan, also a really good team.
Yeah, it was really unlucky. It shows the folly of the entire structure.
So did they play that bad is my question. I don't know. Will they play better or worse? You would expect them to play...
I mean, in terms of a brand of football, nothing to do with the quality. Like, I thought that they gave Donegal a decent game for a lot of it, and then at the end it was comfortable for Donegal, but I don't think you can write the season off as a complete disaster for Rory Gallagher. They had a decent league campaign. I'm talking about the brand.
Is this a harbinger of the Specsavers power rankings to come? You're going to suddenly...
I forgot the day we're on today, actually, yeah.
Okay, all the work you put into them. I don't know. You're saying better or worse?
I'm asking.
I don't know. What do you think?
Better.
Bryce
better
is
football. Better football. We're going to have swashbuckling, Mickey Hart-esque football with a very, very, very sharp, hard edge coming to a Fermanagh team near you.
What is Joe Brodley going to say about Rory in the papers?
Very good point.
What's the worst thing that he's going to say?
I don't want to libel the man.
No, okay, fair enough. Okay. Right, David Brady, good morning to you.
Morning, Jar. How's things?
Yeah, good. You've changed your Twitter avatar?
I have. That's the best way I could probably represent how I feel, and I suppose a lot of Mayo people, every Mayo person, again, a lot of GA people. That's the best compliment I could pay him.
To Andy Moran.
By putting Andy Moran up as my profile picture.
Today, every Mayo man and woman and monkey is an Andy Moran. Do you like that ad for Tiger Woods?
Yeah, and again, Andy Moran has represented everything that is good about GAA, not just alone Mayo football. And again, there's none of us in the privileged place of winning everything we've wanted to and getting the ultimate goal in life, and that's what Andy Moran gave, I suppose, GAA and the Mayo team since 2003. He's given it his all as a person, as a player, and I suppose as a symbol of what GAA in my mind stands for. He was all encompassing, and I have to say, as a young player coming into the panel, I was 8 years in the panel at this stage. So I was kind of an elder statesman, and then you have this young Duracell buddy coming into a dressing room in 2003 and 2004, and you go, is he hyper? Is he delusional? Or is he just what he turned out to be? A constant positive influence, a positive character, and a fine footballer. And I know Andy from the years. He takes no great personal pleasure of having personal awards or accolades. It's what he did for Mayo, and I think the last 24 hours when you see a guy retire and you see players coming out and saying what an absolute pain he was to mark as a full forward and inside forward line. You just knew when you got a ball out in midfield that one thing you knew Andy Moran wasn't doing, and that was standing up. His inside movement was absolutely fantastic, and it's a credit to him, it's a credit to his family, it's a credit to his club, Balladreen GA, and it might be the end of Andy Moran as a player, but he will have, without a doubt, a future in Mayo GA in the years to come.
That's probably part of the longevity behind Andy Moran, David, what you mentioned there, the positivity of the man. It's not just about the fact that he looked after himself so well, it was also the attitude that he had, because I guess being positive as a Mayo footballer who comes so close so often is such an important thing.
Because if we lose that positivity, we might as well give it up altogether. But the one thing Andy showed on is that you can't let 1 year dictate your future. And whether it's 1 year left in the game, or you have, as Andy had, and I played with him in 2004 and 2006, like that's 13 years ago. And still, and still year after year he came back. And people always ask the question about Mayo and everything else. Does it carry a burden on you? Is it a weight upon your shoulders? Once the new year starts, it's the same for supporters and players. It's not, and especially when Andy had the personal setback of tearing his cruciate ligament, his ACL, which is a major injury in his 30s. What did he do? He came back, and he came back to become the best player in the country in 2017 with his performances, and it just highlights everything that he stands for. And again, it's not personal accolades, but you go. Andy had so much of a focus on what life is about and perspective, and his family and his young kids. Now he has 2 young kids, and his wife is very much part of his inner circle, and that's what he represented on and off the pitch.
We have 2 pictures, which I know you can't see them, but I can describe them to you. So this is 2006, and the first one is from February. It's in a league game. It must be freezing because everybody's wearing long sleeves and gloves. And Andy Moran has this shock of flowing long locks, almost like an afro. Nathan Murphy has one, funnily enough, whenever he lets his hair grow as well. So maybe it's a Balladreen thing, or Ballyhonus, sorry. Obviously, it's a Mayo thing generally. And then in August, we have a picture of him with the shaved head. Was there like a little word said here, listen, if you're going to be up in Croke Park strutting your stuff, you've got to shave the locks?
Well, the whole thing is we always wintered well, whether it was haircuts in Mayo or it was as in taking it easy from a football perspective. But look, at Andy was always the same as the rest of us. The championship haircut was paramount. It was always part of a team dressing room that the championship haircut took precedence over any new boots or any new gear. That it was part and parcel on the Thursday before, or if we trained on the Friday to who was coming with the new championship haircut. And I'd say if Andy tried to let it go now into the we all call it the Willie Joe mullet, but I doubt he'd be able to get it to go that wavy now at the minute. One picture that stands out for me, Jar. He was a great man for just a little nod of the shake of the finger. If you see it in 2004, he scored a massive goal for Mayo. 2006. He scored the goal to bring it back into the game. We're 8 points down against Dublin. You can see against Kerry in the semi-final in 2017, the wink of the finger. He just gives you a little point of the finger. Goes, that's the stuff. He never really overly celebrated anything, but there was one memory that stands for me from Andy.
This is the breakup of that team, really, isn't it? That's the beginning of it. You'd expect a few more to follow over the next couple of weeks and months.
So look, at every team breaks up. Every player has his day. Every player has his innings, and no matter what way you look at it, you're going off. The greats of Mayo football, the best players of Mayo football, the backbone of Mayo teams have retired and went off to pastures new, but it's never really diminished or taken away from what it is that it's a new year, you have a new team, and you look forward to what you have, and you can say, you know what, Kieran McDonald retired with Brady in 2006, that was the end of that bunch. But sure, the man says there's a new bunch ready to carry that torch. No matter what age they are or what calibre they are, they'll step up, and I'm sure there's a lot of players that will step up and step into Andy Moran's boots, and anyone that has been with him or played with him or been in a dressing room with him can only take the lessons that he has showed them, and that's to carry themselves in the way he carried himself, and to play in the way he played, and try and continue to bring that ultimate goal home to Mayo football. But in a GA context, he was the ultimate professional. David, it's a love letter to Andy Moran this morning. Thanks very much for sharing it with us. A pleasure, Jar. See you on.
David Brady giving us some thoughts there on the retirement of Andy Moran. One last point on this. That team breaking up isn't actually a sign that Mayo are going to go away from being the third or fourth best team in the country. The younger players who are coming through they still look like they're going to add something new that the team hasn't had. They're not just facsimiles of the players who are going out. And I think that the team needs to be considered a new team so that they're not carrying the baggage of the last number of years. And like that's how this works. When himself and Kieran McDonald did go, that was the end of that team. And a new team had to come, and that was the team that Andy Moran led. And that ultimately was the Aidan O'Shea team. And now next year it's going to be Aidan O'Shea and a fully fit Cillian O'Connor and a fully fit Diarmuid O'Connor for the whole season, you hope. And we'll see what happens.
Yeah, it is already, when you talk about that, a huge improvement if they manage to keep all those players fit. But sometimes you need to go through a little bit of a heartbreak like this, saying goodbye to a legend of the county for you to actually take a step forward.
And I think 3 or 4 more of them will do, and it'll be regeneration, and hopefully James Horn sticks around to oversee that as well. Okay, so this week for our Specsavers Power Rankings, we're going back to day 1 to see if Owen Sheehan's initial rankings have held up in any way at all. Where are we starting? Power Rankings, OTB AM. When was this? Was this back in when was this?
This is the very initial ones at the very start of the championship.
New York 33, Antrim 32, London 31, Wexford 30, Leitrim 29, Sligo 28, Wicklow 27, Waterford 26, Limerick 25. That's what it was. What does it look like now?
Was that the very first power rank? I thought I had Limerick down much lower at the very first power rankings, because then remember Limerick went out and beat Tipperary, and then I had to bump Limerick up to around 25. I think I had Limerick down much lower than that. If we move on to the next page, I've got a feeling we're going to have Tip next. Yeah, Tip 24. This is, I think, week 2. Carlow just ahead of them at 23, Longford 22, Offaly 21, Derry 20, Louth 19, Down 18 and Cork 17.
Cork 17.
Yeah, I think even at that point there was even questions about Cork at 17. I like about the fact that they were too high at 17, that they were no better than Down or Derry or Louth, when in actual fact it was pretty clear that they were on the way forward. But this was before Cork had kicked the ball, because this was on the back of them getting relegated to Division 3.
Yeah, I mean they deserved to be pretty low at that stage.
I think so, and I think 17 was about right. Like elsewhere in this was after, of course, Tipperary got beaten. I probably would have had Tipperary up around 21-20 maybe on week 1, and then they dropped a couple of places after getting beaten by Limerick, and it was the start of a bad summer for them. Carlow as well, up at 23. Probably a little bit high at that point, was it? Given the season that they had. Granted, they had a bad suspension in the middle of the summer as well, so it's probably off the mark there. We might roll it on to page 2. Gone for Clare at 16, which was probably too low in the end. Clare, really, if I was being completely predictive, would have been ahead of Westmeath, Laois and Kildare, really. And yeah, ahead of those 3 counties for sure, because they ended up having a very good season. They ended up getting beaten by Meath in the last 12 in round 4 at the qualifiers, so they deserve to be higher than 16, so I got that one wrong. I think with regards to the rest of them,
Kildare at 13, Armagh 12, Cavan are 11.
Yeah, Fermanagh are too high then at number 9, really, when you look at the season as a whole.
Again, Meath are 10.
Meath at 10, and they kind of stuck static there for pretty much the entire year. Moves up to 8 come the end, 8 or 7 come the end of the year. So
I mean, there's a massive difference because of the way the season is laid out between 8 and 9. Like, that's a whole tier.
How's it a whole tier? Like, the difference
because there's a Super 8, and those are the 8 best teams, and then your 9 and 10 teams didn't make it, and they had a crap year.
That's just not true.
They get no football in.
That's just not true.
In July.
You're saying that the Super 8s has a massive gulf between. No, it's not.
In terms of outcome,
it's absolutely not.
I mean, it is.
Like, okay, so
you don't start the year saying, "Oh, geez, I'd love to be in the top 10 in the country," or "Geez, I really hope I make the top 9." It's like, we're going to get to the Super 8s this year. That's what's going to happen to us. There's going to allow us to catapult ourselves forward in our football culture.
I thought you just said Cork were probably all right at number 17. They made the Super 8s
at the start of the year.
Yeah, a team.
That's where after the league,
any
Cork
team in the top 20, as far as I'm concerned, can make the Super 8s.
But let's move on. Let's go on. Come on. Keep going.
At number 8, I'd gone for Roscommon. Donegal were at 7, bit low.
Way too low.
Galway at 6, Monaghan at 5, Tyrone at 4, Kerry at 3, Mayo at 2, and Dublin at 1. So I got the semi-finalists correct at least. Top 4 ended up being the last 4. Monaghan were too high. Monaghan obviously had a very bad season. Galway, very bad season as well. Donegal definitely better than Galway and Monaghan. They should have been higher than them. If I'd been trusting my gut when I made these, I would have put Donegal ahead of Galway and Monaghan.
Are Donegal not ahead of Tyrone, really, as it stands? Would you not much rather be a Donegal fan heading into next year than a Tyrone fan?
Yes, I would, but that doesn't mean that they're right now a better team than them. Tyrone overall had a better season than Donegal. Granted, they were beaten by Donegal.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Tyrone have had a season where it has been established firmly that their management are out of ideas when it comes to the challenges that modern football throws at them. Donegal were absolutely destroyed by injuries to key players at various stages, and that prevented them from showing their full hand. So I'm saying Donegal are ahead for me in my power rankings. Dublin are number 1, Kerry are number 2. I'd say Donegal are probably 3 at this stage, and we'll see what form Mayo come back in after that. It's probably Mayo 4, and then I don't know. You can throw a blanket over them.
Yeah, exactly. But that's my exact point about your Super 8's notion.
Well, I mean, that was 2 minutes ago, and we've moved on.
But like, you can throw a blanket over everybody outside of the top 3, maybe. Certainly outside of Dublin, you can almost throw a blanket over them.
That's this week's Specsavers Power Rankings. We'll get to update them finally for one final time next week. There are a bunch of other power rankings that we want to bring your way. If anybody has any ideas that you'd like to see us power rank, then you can just get in touch with us. info@offtheball.com is an email address that we've rescued just recently, so if you want to get in touch with us by email, you can do that. Alternatively, you can just tweet us at Off the Ball AM. Now, on Wednesday week, the 4th of September, Off the Ball are bringing you a very special roadshow in the Borgosh Energy Theatre in association with Cadbury. Premier League legends Roy Keane and Gary Neville will be our star guests at this exclusive off-air event, discussing their careers at the highest level, their time together at Manchester United, and giving their thoughts and predictions on the new Premier League season. The event sold out in just a couple of hours, with all the proceeds going to the charity Aware. But over the next week on OTB AM, we've some of the last tickets to give away. To enter this morning and win a pair of tickets to our Roy Keane and Gary Neville roadshow in association with Cadbury's, just tell us who won more international caps for their country. Was it Roy or Gary? Leave a comment on whatever stream you're watching or tweet us at Off the Ball, and you can be in this competition. It is 8:32 a.m. this Tuesday morning. We're back talking cycling with Nico Roche in a moment. But first, here's Keith Wood on Rory Best's struggles.
He's absolutely under huge pressure. Of course he is. And I know Ronan said he didn't think he was. You need your players, you need all your players to be playing at the best of their ability, and which he is under pressure. And he knows it full well himself. And I'm sure Joe does as well. He wants his leaders to lead. He wants his players to be the guys that can deliver on the field. And we're talking about him. We're not talking about other players at the moment. For me, there's a worry in the fact that we haven't seen other players getting more game time or making more out of more game time over the last few years. He's 37 years of age. There's normally a really good young fella, 21, 22, coming in, knocking on the door. We haven't seemed to have that for a period of time, or the guys that have been coming through have got injured at inopportune moments in time. So if I'm looking and saying, is he under pressure? Of course he's under pressure. Is there a guy standing up immediately saying, pick me instead? I don't know that there is, really.
It is a tricky conundrum, but you don't have to pick him in the big games. That's the solution here. You can bring him, he can be the off-the-field leader, he can do all the press, he can take some pressure off your hooker in those big games, he can help talk them through. Like, I don't think Rory Best is suddenly going to decide that, you know, he doesn't want to be a full and active participant in everything. He's going to continue to be a great captain in the rugby sense, but he can equally also not play in the big games.
Yeah, like, are we kind of isolating this down to Rory Best as the only person, the only frontliner who has to get dropped here and that can still fulfil that role? If you look at
the team that's going to start the big games versus the team that started against England, let's assume health, right? So Sexton comes in, Earls comes in, Ryan comes in, Henshaw comes in. So Earls comes in instead of Larmour. You've got a new centre partnership.
Does Toner come in?
Toner probably comes in, and suddenly your line out is completely different. You've got Ryan and Toner. Toner's calling it. You've got a new... Does Jack McGrath go now? That's a Cian Healy injury. Like, how bad is the Cian Healy injury? What happens there? Does that suddenly change things, I wonder? Which means that somebody else is getting bumped out. You have to bring Cian Healy if he's going to be fit 2 games into the tournament, because you hope you're going deep in the tournament and he's your best player.
Yeah. The news doesn't seem to be that significant on Cian Healy, though. It seems that it's an ankle sprain and he's going to be okay soon.
I don't think we get full information. That's how that works. Right, we want to go back to cycling. I'm delighted to say Nico Roche is with us in his brand spanking new red jersey this morning, a second day. Nico, how does that feel?
Good, and I actually soaked in better. I had a better night's sleep. The last 2 days ago, I was took me a while to fall asleep. I was like a kid before Christmas, just all excited, and not quite realising again that I was wearing that jersey. You said as well in today's piece in the Irish Independent that there was just so much media and so much protocols to go through immediately afterwards that you don't actually get back to the hotel until 9:15 in the evening, and then it's a massage and it's dinner, and that's just the adrenaline pumping for hours and hours afterwards, kind of staring at the ceiling, I guess. Yeah, exactly. Especially 2 days ago, I had no battery in my phone, so I was doing all the catching up once I got to the hotel, and I think I must have got back to my room probably at around 11:15, and then obviously I had a lot of messages from friends, family, and I just wanted to take some time to kind of get back to everybody. But after that, obviously, I was just like in bed and just staring at the ceiling, and just all the kind of adrenaline is still in.
Did you expect this, Nico? Did you expect to be going to Spain targeting the red jersey in the early stages?
No, not at all. I wanted to do a good race, but my role here with the team was clearly that I needed to support Wilco Kerdeman in the GC and in the high mountains in the upcoming weeks. Obviously, we went in the Vuelta hoping that we were going to give it a proper go to win the team time trial, which meant that we were quite close to the red jersey at some point, or if not taking it already on the TDT. So having the red jersey in the team was something that we thought of. And then the next day, with this very difficult climb, there were also open scenarios. I did not had in mind that we were going to go so hard up it, and I did believe it was going to be a little bit more control and maybe have a bigger group sprint. And I was going to have a try in the sprint, but nothing like the scenario that happened. And even when I went in the attack, I was still not thinking of the red jersey. I was kind of thinking, right, this could be a chance to get a proper result on the stage. It did go through my mind. I do admit I did have a chat with the sports director on the radio, and he said, Nico, just focus on the win, and then if you win the stage, you will get the red jersey. I missed out on the stage, but at least I got the red jersey for 2 seconds, so it was a big relief. Yeah, and so what's that like then? Because it's been a really difficult season for you guys. It hasn't quite reached the standards that you wanted to. There's been a missing team leader through injury for most of the big races this year, and here you are all of a sudden at the end of the year practically in the Vuelta in red. It must be a massive relief for everybody. I think the team is very happy with me being in red. It's kind of a little bit of a highlight. Obviously, we're all very aware that I'm going to lose it over the next few days. Once I come into the mountains, I don't think my shape is as good in the high mountains as I've been in some of the previous Vueltas. Although I believe that, I hope that I'll be getting a little bit better over the second and third week. I kind of did my training differently. Normally I come out of the tour and I take like a few days a bit easier, and then I'm kind of flying and I feel really good. Where this year I came out of the tour because of the crash and the sickness completely run down, and it took me a long time to come back to feeling good, and I kind of backed off a little bit training, and I start here the Vuelta a little bit fresher, but I don't think quite at the top level, but hopefully over especially for the those really big mountains that are coming, I think I will survive some of the stages like tomorrow. I think with the 2 seconds on Quintana and 4 seconds or 5 seconds over Uran, is going to be very tough for me to keep the jersey, but I still I'll be in contention for another bit.
Do your team tactics change at any point now, Nico? You say you didn't really expect to be here in this position. Has there been any tweaks to kind of react to the new situation that your team finds yourself in?
Yeah, totally. The team told me that it's all but normal that tomorrow I have all my right to go and fight for the jersey and to keep a good position in GC. But obviously, like I've talked with the sports director, that the priority is Wilco, and coming into the second and the third week, in the high mountains, I will kind of be around him. But saying that, I still believe, it's a Grand Tour, it's 3 weeks of racing, and there's always going to be opportunities. And I believe that if I do my work well with Wilco, I still will have a good enough chance to perform the way I want, that it's not going to, completely destroy my own chance. We're a team that is not here to control. So being around Wilco means being around him, and that's also in the front group. It doesn't mean being in the front and riding all day in the wind. So it's a very different scenario than when I have to ride with someone to put them in position for the last time or whatever. But it means that I have to kind of stay with Wilco, be there in case something happens. Obviously, I reckon there will be stages where the two of us are going to be isolated from the rest of the team, and there I might have to do a little bit of work to put him in position. But I believe that if the condition is there over the next 2 weeks, I will be able to do both, to be able to help Wilco in the best possible way, and also to see some opportunities for myself.
If we take the conversation away from tactics and in terms of your specific tactical role within Team Sunweb, what's your role like kind of away from the circuit, away from the tour, away from the Grand Tours? Because even just looking at the age profile, you're one of the older guys in Team Sunweb at the moment. Do you find that you're kind of embracing more of a leadership role, even off the bike a little bit in the team?
Yeah, totally. I think actually even more so than on the bike. It was pretty clear when I joined Sunweb last year that they wanted me for my experience more than for my performances. And all year long, I've been, for example, always rooming with some of the younger riders, trying to share some of my experiences, also my knowledge of the road, the race, but my knowledge also of how other teams race too. So I think most of the most important role I have in this team is probably around the development, helping those young riders, and sharing my ideas and my point of view on diets, because at this stage in my career I try them all and I know which one works or doesn't work for me and why. And then obviously we have a kind of more open conversation about, because everyone's different. When you're 20-year-old, your body is not the same as when you're 35. And for example, this year I noticed it where it was actually the first time that took me so long to recover after this big crash I had in the tour. So all these are the things, and I'm quite happy that a lot of these young guys are actually hungry for information, and they like talking. And sometimes I feel like I'm like one of these old farts talking stories like a granddad. And when I'm talking, I had no power meter, and it was already, if you had a heart strap on, it was already a big thing. And no wireless computers. I had a wire on my front fork, so it feels like it's a completely different age, even though I don't feel that old. But even in terms of diet, teams have completely upped their games in terms of diet. And when I talk to the guys and saying that, when we were amateur, we'd get up at 6 to have a red meat and pasta, where now this is like, no, this is a no-go. So how trends in diet have come up, and it's quite nice how they kind of like to listen to these stories, and we compare with now. And I think they also realize how privileged they are now to have access to all this knowledge from all these kind of experts that are around the team.
It was interesting then in your piece today in the Indo, you talked about being nervous when the adrenaline when it happened, but then nervous during the actual stage yesterday, and you kind of feel like, you're 35, you've dealt with this kind of stuff before, you've seen it all. But maybe because you've seen it all and because you're at that stage of your career, that's why you're nervous, because you realise that another day in red this time would be one day more than the last time you were in red, and maybe you're just able to realise that these chances aren't going to come that often again in your career.
No, I totally agree with you. And yesterday, for example, I was just coming into the bunch to the bonus sprint. Even though I perfectly knew that there was no interest of Quintana going for the bonus seconds, but I still stuck to his wheel just in case he was, and I was really, really nervous and sitting on him, and he could not go anywhere in the bunch without me be close to him, and all these kind of things. And then coming into the finish, I was just so nervous about a crash, about missing out in a corner, about a split coming into the finish. So all these are the things, because I've seen it happen and because I've been in that situation, obviously not for losing the leader's jersey, but for losing a position on GC or whatever it is, coming into the race where you could lose or win just for a couple of seconds of not focusing, or the opposite, take the advantage when you're that bit more focused. And to go back to what you said, it's exactly the same feeling. Is at this point in my career, I've had so many crashes over my 15-year career that I do know how hard the road is. And some of these young lads that didn't quite go through these experiences, having a high-speed crash or, diving in the corner and having your wheel slip and all that kind of stuff, well, they haven't tasted the pain of injury, so they're kind of fearless. Where I kind of realized today that this is a moment in my career where crashing could be the end of my career, and I have a lot more to lose in crashing than in touching the brakes. Where 10 years ago, I had a lot more to, if I went through the corner in second position, then it was great. I could make a jump in my career. But if I crash, it was like, it doesn't matter, I'll go again next week. Where this doesn't happen anymore,
That's interesting. The end of your career is obviously something that flickers into your thoughts in the midst of a stage like this. And I guess it has to. You're at that stage of your career where it's year by year. And I'd say in the slow recovery after the crash of the Tour, there must have been some dark moments where you're like, I don't know if this is really worth it anymore. Why are you thinking? What is your thinking around that?
Well, to be honest, because it was this time of the year, and I knew my condition was good, and I was looking forward to the Vuelta, it kind of helped me to stay focused mentally. I have friends, family around me who know how much I always go good, and I look forward to the second part of the season. So I have to say, a lot of everyone who was around me and surrounded me gave me always a good morale boost to make sure I stay focused and motivated, because this is the time of the year where I usually get into form. And I struggled through the Spring Classics and to get up to shape up to now. And I was like, all right, I'm not going to let this crash bother me. But saying that, even training when I was descending some of the climbs with my friends and my training buddies in Monaco, when I was going down the descents, they were dropping me on the descents because I was really worried, because I didn't want to hit a pothole, because that's what happened. I hit a crack on the road, and the wheel went. So I was like, all right, I'm just descending and really, really cautious, because there was no way I was going to crash training, where normally I've always been quite a decent descender. But the last couple of weeks I was just even going through towns and roundabouts, just kind of touching the brakes a little bit more. Obviously, it's happened to me before, and I've come back in that position of forgetting about the crash. And I think that's one of the main strengths of a cyclist, is you're bound to crash at some moment, and it's just trying to come back and not to think about it. Obviously, in a race is a bit different. You kind of have the adrenaline, and you're kind of a lot more focused. So you have a bit, when the race is full on, you have a bit less time to start thinking about crashes. It's more when the race kind of slows down, or it's kind of that medium hard level, then everything goes through your mind.
If this is kind of a double-edged question, but if you are going to come back next year, getting into red in the Vuelta is great, because it kind of shows everybody that, hang on a second, actually this is somebody who knows exactly how to manoeuvre their way through the early stages of a Grand Tour like this, and is very valuable to a team for all the reasons you've already talked about. Have you thought about next year yet, and does getting into red increase the likelihood of you coming back next year? Is it guaranteed you're going to come back next year? What's the story?
Yeah, well, at this stage, I still haven't renewed or found a contract yet. Everything is still it's in progress, which is quite normal for this month of August. But yeah, I'm definitely not ready to retire. I think I have still a lot to do and to show and to bring into the cycling business, if it's with developing the younger riders or still going for some of the results myself. I still race with the heart of a junior, and I think I've showed it again during the Tour and already the early stages of this Vuelta. But is it to aim red? I've always been kind of not a specialist, but always been there and abouts in the first week of the Vuelta. If you look at all the Vueltas I've done, I think the first week of the Vuelta I've always been in top 10 or closer to top 5 even. So it's not something new. It just took me so many years to get into red that time, because already in 2013, for example, when I won the first stage, obviously our team had lost a little bit more time on the team time trial the day beforehand, and I was, I think, 20 seconds off the red jersey, even though I had won the first mountain stage. But I got the red jersey a couple of days later. But most of the week, so a couple of years ago, 2017, I was lying in second behind Froome for, I think, almost a week. So for 2 or 3 seconds behind Froome. So I've been in that position, just not wearing the jersey, but in that position of being very close or in with the big leaders in the first week of the Vuelta, especially. The only problem is some of the years I've always find actually the end of the second week more than the third week, when we start hitting the really high mountains, always a little bit more of a struggle.
Just one last question for me, Nico. The picture that's kind of doing the rounds in the back of the newspapers this morning is yourself and Sam Bennett. Obviously, a magnificent day for him. And I don't know, like maybe it's too much of a leap on my part here, but I think you kind of share similarities in terms of how you approach cycling in your respective teams, because it's been such a tough year for him, really, when you think about it, being asked to wait this long for his moment in the sun. And as a sprinter, it must always be tough being a teammate of Peter Sagan. But yet this is a guy who comes back, who manages to play for the team, and he gets his moment in the sun yesterday. And it's and yourself and himself are pictured, as I say, in the back of a lot of the newspapers.
Yeah, I mean, I was and, you know, we get to train sometimes in Monaco, and I know Sam many years now, and I know how. I mean, generally speaking, his whole career has been tough. You know, he already in the younger years he had a lot of problems with his knee. It took him a while to kind of get that confidence, and then, lucky enough, his kind of first breakthrough was in the Tour of Britain a couple of years ago with the Jan Post team, and then he kind of stepped it up there, and that gave him a lot of confidence for the future. But yet he wasn't a World Tour sprinter, and it took him another 2 years before he became a World Tour sprinter. And what he's been doing since last year is just exceptional. And like you said, it must be very difficult for him because he's always in the shadow of Peter Sagan. Doesn't matter how good he is, and being in that team, for example, you know, I think he was really disappointed not to have gone to the Giro because of politics, because the team wanted a German sprinter or whatever they defended themselves with. But it was great that he got his shot first sprint and he nails it. You know, I think for him it's a massive relief.
Nico, congratulations on being in red. Long may it continue, and thanks a million for being so generous with your time this morning.
Thank you.
That's Nico Roche live from the Vuelta this morning. We'll obviously keep a close eye on how he gets on over the coming days, and we hope to get Sam Bennett on the show a little bit later on the week as well. Now, our competition is got a Dundrum connection as well, because we've got some brilliant prizes for you all this week, with thanks to Dominic Smith, Expert Electrical in Dundrum. Every morning this week there's a €100 voucher for Dominic Smith, Expert Electrical, up for grabs. On Friday, though, anybody who's entered our competition all week on any of our platforms are going to be in the draw for our overall prize of a state-of-the-art Sony TV and home entertainment system worth €4,000. This is an amazing prize. A sleek and contemporary 65-inch Sony Bravia OLED AG9 Smart TV from Sony's new Masterclass series. It's the next generation Android Smart TV, providing viewers with a multi-dimensional cinema viewing experience, wide viewing angle for a more natural picture, and built-in acoustic surface audio. This morning we're asking you to share this morning's show wherever you're watching or listening to us, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, or the Go Loud app. Tune in, or indeed offtheball.com, and leave a comment with your sporting wish for the rest of the year. Efferel at 3050_Efferel says, my sporting hope for the remainder of 2019 is that the Rugby World Cup doesn't turn out to be another disaster for Ireland. Mike Tindall has you covered, don't worry. If you missed that, listen back to the early bit. Niall Moonan says, I'm watching on Facebook. My sporting wish is for Ireland to win the Rugby World Cup. Just like Owen, you're shooting for the moon there. Owen wants Kerry to win the All-Ireland.
Shoot for the moon, you land on the stars.
Sporting wish, the drive for 5 to fall at the final hurdle. Clifford goal in extra time to win it for Kerry by 1 point. So extra time would be after a replay, wouldn't it? Or do they go to extra?
Does it mean an additional time?
Isle Cody, good morning to you. Says, sporting wish for the year, draw next Sunday in the All-Ireland final so I can make the replay for a Kerry win. Missing for the biggest sports event of the year to boxing fans, Lomachenko versus Luke Campbell.
What is not a disaster for the Rugby World Cup?
Semi-final.
Semi-final.
All right, let's move on. It's 8:54 a.m. this Tuesday morning, and we're bringing you an exclusive this morning on OTB AM. It's the second video of our Dove Men Plus Care #OneToughJob series. Andrew Porter and his dad Ernie have led Off the Ball into their home, and they chat here to Adrian Barry and Alan Quinlan about Andrew's career with Ireland and how he dealt with losing his mum at a young age.
All right, Quinny, we've just come from the beautiful day out with Peter Manning, the lovely suburbs of South Cork, and here we are now in South Dublin, and we're going to talk to the Ireland prop, Andrew Porter. Really looking forward to the conversation with him. Guy with an interesting career over the last couple of years and a big future ahead.
Yeah, very interesting to go from loose head to tight head, and probably that transition has been tough for him, and he had to go back playing club rugby, come back with Leinster as a tight head, and he's made a real fist of that, and you know, elevated himself into Joe Schmidt's Ireland squad was involved in the Grand Slam, Triple Crown, Six Nations. Incredible success for a young player, and I'm sure there's going to be many more chapters to his story.
Plenty of pages yet to be written. Let's go in and have a chat with him.
How's it going, Alan? How are you?
Hey, Adrian. How's it going? Good to meet you.
Come on in.
Thanks a million. Andrew, thanks a million, as I said, for having us into your house. Lovely spot.
Not at all.
Just having Quinny, well, people have seen in the last couple of weeks, we've been down with Peter O'Mahony and his beautiful garden, and we've been treated, Quinny, to much the same.
Flowers, more
from
shrubs.
South Cork to South Dublin, pretty much the same thing. Funny talking to Peter in the last couple of weeks about how he got into rugby and how obsessed he was by it. A slightly different thing almost from your end.
Yeah, I suppose I started off playing quite young. My dad took me down to All Wesley when I was very young, like when I was 4 years old or something, and then played my mini rugby with All Wesley. Yeah,
what attracted you to rugby? Is it this massive frame, or something inside you that you were kind of had that passion for it? Because I know you told me earlier you played other sports as well.
Yeah, I played a bit of hurling when I was younger as well, and I think
you like to meet him on a hurling field.
Yeah, on any field,
with a weapon.
Yeah.
I think the main reason how I got into it was just through my father. Like he had a big passion for rugby, and I think that kind of rubbed off on me then. So that was he was my first coach when I started off. So I think that's what kind of sparked the passion for rugby inside me. So.
And if we fast forward a bit, like when we talk about one tough job and a care for every position, you were on fast track in one position up to a very significant level, obviously, and then suddenly you took a serious pivot for you. How did all that come about? Like,
I think it was John Fogarty who came up to me in Leinster at the time, and then he was like, "Oh, we kind of, I think the line for loose heads is a bit long, because we had Jack McGrath, Cian Healy, Peter Dooley, a few lads and Ed Byrne who had already established themselves at that level, especially, and then I think they were short a few tight heads, so they thought I suited the position mainly because of my stature.
You're in a Leinster squad, then you're back in the Leinster squad as a tight head. You're on. You get capped for Ireland. What are you feeling then? Like, what are you thinking? This whole kind of juggling situation has happened so quickly, and now you're in the Irish squad, getting your first cap as a tight head.
That's the thing, really. Just everything kind of happened so quickly. Like, it's kind of, you don't really have much time to gather your thoughts on it. And I think the first time I got the phone call or the email about coming into camp, I thought they had thought they were sending it to the wrong person. So yeah, I was immensely proud, like, to go out and represent get my first cap out against the USA. And I think one of the big standout kind of points with that was just my dad in the stand straight after, just being able to see him there on like such a special day for me. But it's one of those days that you just never forget, really.
How important has your family support been? I know you've had a really tough situation, losing your mum, but how important has your family helped you, and you've helped each other to enjoy this moment? Because this is a good story, isn't it? This is a really nice story, the way you've gone on and had success.
Yeah, I think, especially with the loss of my mum, like when I was 12, then I think it brought us a bit closer together, really, and like kind of we bonded around each other then after that, and like we're looking after each other a bit more, like everyone's looking out for each other, and it's like I really owe them everything, really. It's incredible how much family like impacts you, especially, and you want to go out and do everything, kind of make them proud, so that kind of it's a driving factor behind it. So
I'm sure your mother is incredibly proud of you as well.
I hope so, yeah.
Is she the driving force for you as well, aside from your family? But do you think about her when you're out playing, getting ready, preparing? Is that something that kind of makes you more determined to keep pushing yourself and succeed? Yeah, definitely, because I know she was a huge influence on my life, especially when I was younger, and she continues to be now. So it's something like, it's not just my dad and my two sisters that I'm doing it for. I'm doing it in her memory as well. So it's I hope she's looking down. I hope she's proud. So I'm sure she is. Yeah. So it's one of those things. Like, family is one of the most important things to me. So I do anything for them because they do anything for me, really. So.
Right, guys. Enough of that chat. Come on in, we'll get a cup of tea.
Good man, Ernie. We'll have a cuppa. You lead the way, Andrew. There.
Will do.
How proud are you as a dad, though?
Sure, it's incredible. It's you couldn't wish for anything better. It's it's fantastic. Like the trips I've had out of it and the enjoyment we've had, and just to see him out there, it's incredible. Yeah, it's the progress he's made.
You get used to all this. I mean, the success, the scrapbooks that Andrew's sister so brilliantly put together. Do you get used to all that sort of stuff, or is it still a bit of a, Quinny was talking outside about Andrew pinching himself, is there a bit of an element of that for you as well?
Yeah, look, I'd never get too far ahead of myself either, really, just I know rugby the way it is, it can be on your high one day and you could be injured or low, very low the next day, so it's look, I enjoy the days that they're winning and enjoy the days that we're going to see him play, and it's fantastic,
For him, in his own little way of being saying, here's a great story and here's a bit of success, because as sons or daughters playing sport, I think we want our parents to enjoy it too, you know what I mean, and feel that bit of joy in it as well. So I think that's an important part for us, I would say, Andrew. Yeah,
definitely. Yeah.
Great. The team was beautiful.
Yeah, stay tuned for the last part in our series with Dove Men Plus Care as we find out how some of the country's most celebrated professionals, Keith Earls, Devin Toner and Jordan Larmer, manage to care for every position they play. You can also check out part 1 of our Dove Men Plus Care series with Peter O'Mahony across offtheball.com. Now, this Sunday at 1 o'clock, the Electric Ireland Minor All-Ireland Final throws in as Galway take on Cork. Galway obviously looking for the hurling and football double. They beat Kilkenny in the Electric Ireland Minor Hurling Championship final last Sunday. Stunning performance from one of their forwards in particular. Cork football obviously hoping to continue their renaissance. The game is live on TG Car from 1 o'clock, but we also want to give you a heads up that you can get your pre-game haircut outside of Croke Park, courtesy of Electric Ireland, on Sunday from 11 a.m. We'll also have an in-depth preview of the final at Mossy Quinn for you on OTB AM on Thursday morning's show. Now, again, we have been over the summer compiling our Electric Ireland Minor Jubilee 15 as voted for by you, the public. So we were taking some heat for some of the omissions from this team just recently, but it has been entirely the result of a public vote. So here we go. That's the team so far. Donald Cusick, Paddy Marr, Ronan Marr, Tommy Walsh, Joseph Cooney, Austin Gleeson, Sean O'Halpine, Noel McGrath and Jar Farrer in midfield, Cian Lynch, Richie Power and Shane Long in the half-forward line. And today we can confirm it's Richie Hogan in the full forward line, Joe Canning and James Chaff Fitzpatrick at 13. So that's not a bad full forward line. Richie Hogan, Joe Canning and James Chaff Fitzpatrick. I think Chaff Fitzpatrick was sensational in an All-Ireland final as a corner forward. Was it 2-3 from play he scored in one of those games?
Here's the question for you. Who wins in a game of backs versus forwards in that team? Can
we stick it back up? Ooh.
Sean Oak marking Cian Lynch. Sean Oak at the edge there. Austin Gleeson and Richie Power. Joseph Cooney probably has the edge over Shane Long. I would say the backs win in the half-back line, and then in...
Ooh,
I would also... Yeah.
Like hurler of the year, Cian Lynch, Richie Power, dynamic, strong, fast, skillful.
He is all of those things.
Yeah. I think...
So is Austin Gleeson.
I think James Chaff Fitzpatrick obviously can play anywhere. So he's going to start at 13. He's going to wander out. Here's the votes. Cha, 48% of the vote beat Shane Maloney on 36. Fraggy Murphy with 16%. Come on, Cork, you could have done better than that. Did he not score 3-8 in a semi-final and 2-4 in a final? So there you go. Number 15 goes to Cha. Full forward. Do we have the votes for that? No, we don't have the votes for those. Okay, so Joe Canning and James Fitzpatrick. Yeah, just a reminder again about the haircut, the crossbar shave, the county braid, the supporters updo, the football flick. Particularly appropriate for this weekend. 11:30 to 1 o'clock ahead of the minor final throw-in, courtesy of Electric Ireland this Sunday in Croke Park on the Cusick stand side. I passed it at the hurling final. Actually, the queue wasn't that bad, and that was around about 12:30. So if you're in time early, then make sure you get down and get your free championship haircut, courtesy of Electric Ireland. Open from 11:30 till throw-in the game at 1 o'clock, which is of course live on TG Car And as I said, we'll have our in-depth preview at Mossy Quinn for you on OTB AM on Thursday morning show ahead of the Electric Ireland Minor All-Ireland Football Final between Galway and Cork. Right, we're going to be back in just a couple of minutes. Phil's going to take us through all of the news, and David Sneyd's going to talk to us about the Irish in the Premier League at the weekend.
OTB AM on OTB Sports Radio, Ireland's first and only sports radio station.
I hear you some wiring needs a fixing, ma'am. The name's Buzz, on account of my work.
No chance.
Not all cowboys ride horses. All safe electric registered electrical contractors must give you a certificate of completion that shows their work meets approved standards. Find one nearby on safeelectric.ie.
OTB AM.
Absolutely dreadful would be pretty much up there. All the things that David Luiz does wrong, he did them wrong in that game. It was ridiculous. It was just him at his most impetuous, stupid worst. I was talking to an Arsenal fan today and I was saying to him, with a bit of luck, that's all the stupid stuff out of the way now. Because he'll do it now and again in a season. But that was just ridiculous. I mean, the tug, I mean, and then having the cheek to argue with the ref about it was ridiculous. And then getting too close to Salah was just childlike. It was so ridiculous. And, you know, to see him doing that, he needs to get his manager back on top of him and make sure he gets his head screwed on again. We shall see. If he does that regularly, he won't be in the team, and he won't deserve to be in the team.
Yeah, Pat Nevin there and David Luiz. David Sneyd is here with us. David, good morning to you.
Morning, how are you?
You had a busy weekend. You were at Villa Park, the centre of the sporting universe, on Friday night.
Yeah, it was actually very, very enjoyable. My first time there covering a game, so...
It's a nice stadium.
Yeah, I mentioned it in my copy, it's just one of those great cathedrals of English football. Like, you walk around the place and it's just the history around the place, and even just the look of it, like the red brick.
The red brick?
Yeah, it's just class. It's
isn't it?
Like, you go to so many, and I hate saying it, like, because the next day I was at Derby County, and you go to so many grounds, and they're just like, there's B&Q next to them, there's like kind of car showrooms and all this, and there's just no soul.
Yeah.
Whereas you go to Villa Park and you can just feel it, like, you know, it's great.
Yeah. The atmosphere was also, like, on commentary, at one point, Carragher was like, "You're here and you missed it. Like, there were years you were coming here, and for the last 5 or 6 years before they went down, the atmosphere was crap. But this was a Friday night where..."
Because it was toxic for a while, wasn't it, with the whole the Randy Lerner stuff. But like, it was at one point where, I'm not even messing, the desks, there was a couple where it was almost shaking, like reverberating. Like, it was just, cause where it was as well was right by the Holt end. And it was just savage. It was really good.
The start of the season, so in their first game they play Spurs and they're up, and then ultimately they run out of steam and Spurs beat them, and then the second game they give away a penalty 45 seconds in at home against a Bournemouth team who you think, okay, if you're going to stay up, you're going to have to beat Bournemouth at home. That's one of those games you're going to have to do. And so it would have been really easy for the fans at that stage to go, ooh, you know, not sure about this, but...
Yeah, I was sort of half expecting that, is that maybe would it not turn on them, but it kind of, would there just be a bit of a flatness after the Bournemouth game?
Yeah.
But I think Dean Smith seems to have kind of really got kind of galvanised and got that connection back between the fans and the players. And even though he has signed so many players, it was quite telling that it was just such a kind of togetherness about the place. Like, I'll be honest, at the start of the season, I know the whole thing about Fulham has been mentioned, about the signing so many players, and they spent like nearly £130 million, but I sort of thought it could be a bit of a struggle for them, but they're really impressive team. Like, he's got them playing quite well. There was dips in the game, like Everton did
miss a lot of chances.
Yeah, like Everton were impressive. You could hear Walcott missed an absolute sitter near the end, and wasn't it Iwobi hit the post. But even in the first half, Coleman was quite impressive down the right, kind of pulled back a chance for I think it was Richarlison. But no, I think Villa have something about them this season, so I think they'll hopefully from this, I imagine, go from strength to strength.
Yeah, obviously I hope they stay up. Do you think they will stay up? They have enough?
Yeah, I think they'll stay up. But I'll be honest, at the start, I sort of tipped them. I thought they'd struggle. But I think just even the 3 games, like the Bournemouth game, they were by far the better team. They just couldn't get that chances, whether or not they put the chances away. And the lad who scored, Wesley, like, by all accounts, didn't kind of light things on fire in that first game against Bournemouth, but he was a real handful against Everton. Like, really impressive. Got his goal, and you would imagine now he should be able to kick on from there. Like,
got in Seamus Coleman's face a bit after a challenge.
Wesley did he?
Yeah.
I actually didn't see that.
Wasn't it Seamus Coleman kind of like pushed away, tried to like get in his face after Coleman had I can't remember what Coleman did. Was it a particularly hard challenge or was it a bit of a reaction? But there is this kind of character around Wesley that will help those desks reverberate in the press box. He's somebody that'll get a bit more of a guttural roar from the Villa fans.
I think you need that. You need just, there was actually as well, but you definitely have from a front man. If he's not going to be a fellow who's going to score 20, 25 goals, you need him to be able to bring something else to the team. And if it's dragging fellas along with you, that's what you want. But there was a moment as well in the first half when Tyrone Mings, he just, I think it was Sigurdsson, I can't be certain, it could have even been Bernard, I can't remember, but he just came right through him, but got the ball and came out, and like the ground just erupted. It was like incredible, and from that moment on, Villa just had control. The only downside from our point of view was the fact that Conor Howrahan sat on the bench again for the full 90 minutes, and just. It's gonna be a struggle for him to get into that team, you know.
It's a long season though. There's going to be 60 games that they play over the course of the year, and he'll definitely get a look in. Look, I think he's probably going to play. I think he's going to play his way back into the team because he's good enough to be in that team. I think. There'll be certain games where I think where he will. Like the fact that the lad Luis, who he brought in from Man City, he's effectively taken his place. Like he at times looked very good. At other times he sort of still looked a bit as if he was kind of finding his feet a little, which is understandable. So that could be an element whereby there could be a bit of give and take there. There'll be certain games where they'll just kind of switch between each other. You know. You mentioned you were at the Derby West Brom game. That one finished 1-0. There was a couple of Irish kids in that one, and you caught up with the Derby County manager Philip Cocu after the game. Here he is talking about Jason Knight. Have a listen to this.
Jason Knight had a really impressive outing today. What is it that you like about him?
Yeah, what's not to like about him? Because if you start with his presence in the game, just an 18-year-old boy, he's breathing football. A lot of energy, good skills on the ball, and of course, in his age, he has to learn still a lot about his positioning and entering and coming in front of the goal. But it says enough if we put him in the team, because when we started, he was too energetic. This is not a good word, but he was running all over the place. And now he's more loyal to his position.
What's Jason's mentality like around the club?
His mentality around the club?
Yeah, like in training every day.
Yeah, it's like he plays, 100%, always. And if we're finished, he stays on the pitch, do extra, or passing or shooting.
That's good to hear. Let's hear from the man himself. So here he is, Jason Knight, a Dublin teenager starring for Derby County. High praise from Philip Cocu there in his press conference immediately after that 1-1 draw with West Brom. Let's hear it.
You said there that you were told an hour and a half before kick-off that you are starting.
Yeah.
So any of your family over?
No, they didn't come over today. They're just back from holiday, but they watched on TV because it's on Sky, so that's happy enough. What was your when you said there you were just happy when you saw you were on the team? Were you straight onto them, letting them know? Or? No, to be fair, I didn't go back on my phone because I just wanted to focus. I just wanted to focus on the game and what I have to do.
I imagine your brother would have been quite a helpful influence on you as well over there.
Yeah, because my brother's played over here and he's played for Ireland, so he just gives me little pointers every now and again what to do and what not to do.
How good is that for you? Like, as you say, it's someone who was over at the school, knows what it takes and what's required, and I imagine he can give you those little.
Yeah, it's really good help because it just gives you that little edge when you're feeling down or you're feeling too up, that he's always there. You can someone to talk to.
So his brother played in England for a while?
Yeah, he was at Leicester. He's actually back in the League of Ireland now. He kind of played again under 17s, under 19s, and yeah, it was actually very. I couldn't believe when he said there. It was actually it was one of those where you listen back and you only kind of realise the kind of significance of what he said after you've asked a question, when he talked about the fact that you never got onto his man, it's mad, isn't it? Or whatever. I would have thought that's the first, or straight away him in the team. But he just, straight away, and it kind of ties in with what Cocu was talking about, the fact that he's just focused and doesn't kind of let other things distract him. He was just, put the phone away, wasn't on Instagram, wasn't on Snapchat, kind of anything like that. He just sort of straight away kind of focused on the job in hand, and it was just, I'm not going to lie, I was raging because I would have liked him to have actually pressed him a bit more on that. Yeah. It was only typical, you only kind of realise when you listen back to the interview, but it was an impressive debut. Like, it was.
So what type of player is he? Because no one's going to know anything about him. Tell us what.
Yeah, so he's very, very tidy. Like doesn't panic. He's very slight. Like, he still has a bit of filling out to do and development. He's Villa or Derby were playing with kind of almost like a diamond effectively midfield, and he was the one from midfield who was expected to kind of get forward and also press forward as well. And he did it quite well actually. He kind of tied in with the lad Waghorn who was playing out on the right. And
so he's a central midfielder.
Yeah, central midfielder. Yeah, but I could imagine he could quite easily, if it was needs be, to just drop to the base as well, because his vision, like there's a couple of passes where you can just tell he's two, 3 steps ahead. He just first time. Sometimes you kind of, a lad might get the ball on his debut and he's sort of like, right, take a touch and kind of get your bearings, but he was quite sharp. He missed a good chance in the second half. Of one time where he actually got into the box and he anchored his run, so he kind of hung back, and that was quite clever of him, I suppose. But the keeper made a decent save, and then he just kind of skied the volley afterwards. But no, he was impressive. Like I think he played 4 championship games off the bench, so he's sort of been around the squad anyway. But for your home debut on telly, he looked quite good for an 18-year-old. He looked very impressive. It was more so that intelligence to just pop it around the place, not kind of worry about it, you know.
You got to talk with.
Well, I was just asking. He's going to hold on to that jersey, so it sounds like, and it's going to be a team again near the top, pushing for promotion.
Yeah, like there's that. Cocu sort of was kind of a bit coy afterwards, and I think there was a bit that might have been embargoed for after when he was talking about, like, look what George mentioned. There's so many games in the championship. Like, he doesn't want to burn this fella out.
Yeah.
Like I think they play Forest in the EFL Cup, I think, or this week. So I don't think he'll play in that game. But he was saying that no, like, this is a fella who's ready for the team. I don't think he's going to be in the team every week, because that could just, like, it could ruin a kid at that age if you're kind of in constantly. Now, in saying that, if his debut was at the goal boy, he done more than enough to stay in the team. It's obviously how Cocu deems it worth kind of managing the player.
Yeah, and how they use him over the rest of the season as well. So somebody else that you were talking about was Darragh O'Shea, who is playing for West Brom. Here's Slaven Bilic talking about him.
Just ask about the progression of Darragh O'Shea.
What can I say about him since we came here? I know he was last year at Exeter, done well. From first day he was as fit as he was now. Really? As he's now. His first day you saw a couple of players who were above the others in the terms of fitness. That's Darragh. And that's Nathan. Two of them straight away were like, it can start, you know. And Darragh he's focused, he's ready, he's fit, but also that's one part of that. But the other part, his quality, and he's showing the quality in his performances, and that's why he's with us. That's why he played against Millwall in the cup. He's on a bench. We count on him.
Does the fact he came in so fit, does that give you an indication of his own mentality?
Oh, definitely.
A lot said about young players, but to come in like that kind of gives an indication.
Definitely. What I say, unfortunately, is today in today's world, it's not a virtue. It's a flow. It's a flow. If you are focused, if you are fit, if you work hard, and all that. Not in football, in every way of life. It's kind of cool to be lazy and all that. Yeah, but Darragh, Nathan, and few of them. They're all good boys, but they are like, for young kids, they are a little bit old-fashioned in a good way. Darragh has everything. He's like mentally, he's thinking about every minute of the training. Whatever you tell him, he's there. A lot of things you don't have to tell him. He's always the first in training and all that. So that's why, to be fair, when I came here, Darragh wasn't mentioned to us like one of the cornerstones, you know, of the new season, and he made it by himself in very short period that we are counting on him.
As a centre back,
the best thing for Darragh would be to go somewhere and play regularly, but we need him that much.
Right. So he's on the bench, unused at the minute, but even Bilic thinks maybe...
The fact he's even there, like, just there was a few players mentioned, kind of younger lads around the academy at West Brom who were all deemed to be ahead of him. He'd gone on loan to Exeter, it was mentioned in League Two, and it's just another case of just having that professionalism and the mentality. That's what's blown Bilic away, really. As he said, he wasn't sort of someone who was even near the first team, so the fact he's even in and around it, like the day I was over, that was the day he moved from the under-23 dressing room into the first team. He got his peg in the dressing room that day. It was actually very enjoyable being over there. West Brom were very accommodating, kind of brought us around and let us go into the canteen and kind of have a cup of tea and all the rest of it, chat to a few people about him. And he's just, like, spoke to the lad himself, he's a very unassuming fella, kind of very... You can just tell he's got his head screwed on. Like gas story, just a lot of lads in that West Brom team would have boot deals and stuff, and there'd be reps coming in, and it'd take people from around the club to actually get there and sort it out with a few bits and bobs. You know, he wouldn't be the one who'd go chasing it, or even who they would even know about him. Yeah. You know, so he's only making his way in the game, but the fact that he's on the bench bodes well, and he's someone who you would imagine as the season goes on with West Brom will definitely get more experience.
Yeah, so EFL Cup maybe is a chance for him to get.
Yeah, well, I think they got knocked out with Millwall, knocked them out, but obviously the League Cup and the FA Cup, but again, like, depends how the season goes for West Brom as well, because the lad, there's Ahmad Ghazi, who the Egypt international at West Brom, but he's recovering from ankle surgery. Depends how that goes as well, how his season is, because I think O'Shea will definitely be around the first team squad for the whole season now. It's just a case of if he can kind of kick on even further and get a game, you know. That's it.
Well, look, centre back, you play 15 games, you can get a move to Man United next year if things go well. Phil, good morning to you. How you doing?
Very well, yeah. Just more news on Andy Moran, because we've actually got a few quotes from the Mayo manager James Horan. Mayo GA released a statement, and Horan has described Moran as a brilliant player, a fantastic person that did everything humanly possible to be the best that he could. Andy's versatility in the field was special, and he adapted his game as his career progressed, getting better and better, a testament to his continuous improvement mindset, a real role model for people on and off the pitch. And James Horan says he wants to thank Andy Moran for his service, and he wishes him all the best in the future. And obviously Moran has called time on his inter-county career at the age of 35. Footballer of the Year in 2017, made his debut in 2003 against Down, his championship debut in 2004 against New York, and he won 8 Connacht senior titles, 1 National League crown, 2 All-Stars as well. Played in 5 All-Ireland titles, 6 if you count the replay against Dublin 3 years ago as well. 3-time All-Ireland winner with Tyrone, Ryan McMenamin has been confirmed as the new Fermanagh manager. McMenamin was part of Rory Gallagher's backroom team over the last 2 seasons. He is bringing in All-Ireland winning teammate Joe McMahon and former Kilcoo manager Paul McIver into his backroom team. McManaman obviously won All-Ireland titles with Tyrone in 03, 05 and 08. Dundalk are 7 points clear at the top of the SSE Electricity League Premier Division thanks to a 3-0 win at home to UCD last night. Michael Duffy scored 2. Pat Hooban was also on target. All 3 of those goals came in the first half. The gap could be back down to 4 points tonight. Shamrock Rovers face Waterford at Tallaght Stadium. Kick-off is at 8 o'clock after tonight's game. Dundalk will still have 2 games in hand over Rovers. 8 Premier League sides are in second round action in the EFL Cup tonight, all against lower league opposition. Could be a chance for some Irish players to get some game time. Aston Villa go to League 2 side Crewe. Norwich travel to League 2 opposition as well in Crawley Town. West Ham are away to Newport County. Crystal Palace welcome Colchester to Sellers Park. Southampton are away to Fulham. Watford entertain Coventry. Sheffield United face Blackburn, and Brighton travel to Bristol Rovers. Serena Williams is into the second round of the US Open after a straight sets win over Maria Sharapova. Took her less than an hour to win 6-1, 6-1. Williams has now won 19 in a row against Sharapova. Reigning women's champion Naomi Osaka begins the defence of her crown today against Anna Blinkova. Roger Federer joined men's defending champion Novak Djokovic in round 2 with a 4-set win over India's Sumit Nagal. Nagal actually won the first set of that, but Federer came back to win the next 3. You were talking to Nicholas Roche a short time ago. He obviously wears the leader's red jersey on stage 4 of the Vuelta a España. 2-second lead over Nairo Quintana. Sam Bennett won yesterday's third stage into Alicante. And just lastly, Christina Desmond's in last 16 action this afternoon at the European Women's Elite Boxing Championships in Madrid. She will take on Dutch welterweight Anna van Leeuwen at around 4 o'clock Irish time.
Could be a big game, obviously, tonight from Ireland's perspective for the internationals next month. James McCarthy expected to make his full debut for Crystal Palace against Colchester. So if there's any Carabao Cup action you want to watch tonight, 7:45, Palace against Colchester is the one.
It's all about the Carabao. We spoke about it last week with James McCarthy. He just needs games. He just needs to play and just get those. I think McCarthy said it himself, didn't he? Kind of get those minutes in the legs and just. You'd imagine Carabao Cup, it's going to be obviously a first team game. It'd be intense, not quite the level maybe of the Premier League, but he just needs to play and he just needs to get through 90 minutes. Like 90 minutes is badly what he needs, you know.
It's next week at this stage. I keep saying next month, but like it is technically next month, but it's also next week.
Yeah, it's proper next week. Wasn't there a James Maddison kind of? Didn't you have you had a pop at James Maddison on the show, and now you're going to have to be cheering him fairly soon?
Yeah, no. It's an interesting one because I got this story during the week and. Maddison obviously has been on the FA radar before when he was a player at Norwich City, a younger lad, and then obviously England came through, and it's just one of them. And I saw a few people commenting about it, saying there's agents pushing this and that, but no, it's just a link whereby it's basically like he's unsure if he's actually definitely going to be in this next England squad. You know, there seems to be a lot of talk in England, but I'm not quite sure if he's definitely going to be in. And the FA were just giving it a small glimmer of hope that. If he's not, it could be something that happens down the line, and the rights and wrongs of it. But that's just the nature of international football now. We unfortunately, there's no longer kind of Jamie Clarkson tweeting there.
Too long at the bar is not enough time practicing football.
Madison's response was pretty good.
If he did declare for Ireland, Clarkson, you know what?
That'd be great. Yeah, he's got a. Stick to cards, mate. Count in one hand how many trims you got left. #10.
That's banter, isn't it? That's proper banter.
171,000 likes on that tweet, though.
This
numbers.
Let's be honest on this, right? Like
remember this?
Yeah. So
we had Pádraig Hammond on the show last year, and he was saying that James Maddison was trying to put him off when he scored that vital penalty against Leicester City in the FA Cup, and he said, "Great pen under pressure, all the best in your cup run, pal." At Pádraig Hammond 21. So he took it gracefully. The fact that he added him.
Yeah, I think. You called him Asshole of the Week. You nominated him as Asshole of the Week one time on the show.
Yeah.
You did, yeah.
Because of the incident when he was playing for Norwich, himself and his mate, it was his friend's court case, where basically his friend was defending James Maddison for saying, this fella's shoes are more expensive than what you earn in a year, mate. Which I thought was kind of funny. There's more to it as well. I don't have it's about 18 months ago at this point, but we'll have to dig that back up. James Maddison
said that about the shoes, didn't he?
No, his mate said it.
Oh, his mate said it.
Yeah.
Okay.
If James Maddison plays for Ireland, that's a phenomenal piece of business by the FAI. He's not looking at it in a purely footballing sense. He's an outstanding footballer.
No, it's not going to happen.
No, that's what I mean.
He's not in this England squad. He'd be in the next one.
He will, yeah.
No, well, he's already been in one. He just never got game time. But just speaking to people, he's one of these characters whereby if he's say left out of this squad or is in it and doesn't get any games, and it's put to him, and you're saying we're going to build a team around you. This is what we want, etc., etc. You play to his ego and you promise him the most expensive runners in the world, then he might actually be tempted to come and play, because that is now the nature of international football, where lads will, if they're not going to be getting picked somewhere, will go and get picked somewhere else.
Big fish, small pool, small fish, giant pool. Which you want to be, James? What's it going to be? This will be McCarthy's legacy, is it?
He seems like a big fish guy, I think. I think James Maddison would like that. Like, as I say, this is not going to happen, but if it did, we may as well line up at the Walkinstown roundabout immediately.
Phil, as a Liverpool fan, reading that Jurgen Klopp's already talking about leaving Liverpool, that's the honeymoon is over. It's a great run.
Well, the talk is 2022. That would mean that he was at the club for 7 years. That's a pretty long stint in modern day management.
But once you start talking about the end telescopes, that's how it works.
Nah, I wouldn't be too worried. I think
if he's talking about leaving, that means he's talking about leaving sooner, and he's putting the feelers out to other clubs now, saying, "Do you fancy it?"
Do you think what happens to the Irish rugby team will happen to Liverpool? That Sadio Mane will see this manager's leaving in 3 years' time. Therefore, I'm going to stop trying.
Lame duck.
No, I don't think so. Because if you don't run in Jurgen Klopp's team, you're out of there. No, I think unfortunately it's going to have to come to an end. But when he does eventually leave, he'll have left the club in an unbelievable state compared to when he came in. And you still just have to go back to the team sheet of his first game when Liverpool played Tottenham at White Hart Lane, a 0-0 draw. But just look at the Liverpool team sheet and look at it now. and that's the kind of drastic change, and there's still more changes to come. But then it would just mean that whoever takes over is going to have some job in their hand, and Liverpool have to get that right.
Yeah, which, is...
not easy.
No, it definitely isn't. Right, we're nearly out of time. All this week on OTB AM, we've got some brilliant prizes for you, with thanks to Dominic Smith, Expert Electrical in Dundrum, as they mark the launch of their exclusive new TV and home entertainment showroom, offering the latest TV and home entertainment solutions. We've got a €100 voucher to give away every morning, and then on Friday, anybody who entered the competition all week is going to be in the draw for the overall prize of a state-of-the-art Sony TV and home entertainment system worth $4,000. So, we got some great suggestions for our Sports Wish of the Year. Congratulations, though, to Dean Landrigan, who was watching OTB AM this morning and sent us his Sporting Wish of the Year. Sporting Wish for the rest of the year is for Ireland to perform well during the World Cup, as long as there isn't a repeat of last week. Hashtag at the heart of everything. Dominic Smith, Expert Electrical, is one of Ireland's leading premium electrical and home entertainment retailers. And Dean picks up a €100 voucher for the shop in Dundrum, and everybody else goes into the draw for Friday. Stay tuned to OTB Sports Radio for the rest of the day. You can listen on offtheball.com/radio, or indeed on the Go Loud app. We're back tomorrow morning from 7:30. Thanks for joining us this week, David. Phil, thanks for the sports news as well. Off the Ball is live on your radios tonight from 7 o'clock. We'll see you tomorrow. Good luck.
Is OTB Sports Radio.
Join Bruce Betting now for a risk-free first bet up to €100. That's right.